This is a nothing. Yes, did they play perfect? No, they still win. Yes.
What are you doing if the Celtics win the championship?
If the Celtics win championship, I might break my sobriety. I might act up.
We did it! You got him.
All the way.
Celtics versus Heat. Celtics in what?
4.
Celtics versus Knicks. Celtics in
4.
You got Celtics in 4? Hell yeah.
Use a vocab word from a couple years ago. It's mind-boggling.
That's it, DRG. Let's go. What do you think for tonight? You think I'm worried about the Warriors? I ain't worried about the Let's go, baby. 18, baby. Load up the boat.
Why would you say that?
Because
I'm not no
recently he's putting up games like
above our head for the players.
literally right now.
But I think when Marcus, especially Marcus, when he got traded, I think that was a wake-up call.
You think right now,
Rob,
it's still New York?
I do. And when I think of the Celtics dynasty, honestly, one of the first names that comes to my mind is actually Brad Stevens.
Whew, that is a wrap, fellas. That is a wrap on the 2024-2025 Boston Celtics regular season title defense. They finish it off. They cap it off with a game 82 win at the TD Garden. 93-86 was your final score. Obviously, no Jason Tatum, no Jaylen Brown, no Al Horford, no Kristaps Porzingis, no Derek White, no Drew Holiday today for the Boston Celtics. The bench got the run. The bench played well. The bench capped off this, what I consider, successful season with a win. Guys, you know the drill here. Our initial thoughts, reactions, and takeaways on what's kind of an interesting post-game show, because there's nothing we can pull from this game, really. So this is going to be a fun one. Kind of get to look at a little bit more of the playoff sphere now. I'm excited. The energy's here, fellas. How do we feel with this one?
It feels like the last day of school. That's what it feels like. It feels like we just got done with our last class of the school year. We were just watching the timer run off 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We beat the Charlotte Hornets in a game that was expected to win. Obviously, with the starters out, we got to see an excellent performance out of Peyton Pritchard. Seeing these guys get a little confidence before coming into the playoffs. The starters being able to rest tonight, and they'll have just about a week off. When's the first Celtics game for round 1? I think it's either Sunday or Monday, but either or, they still have the time off. They can rest up. They can watch film on, and also watch the play-in tournament on Tuesday for who they're going to end up facing, either the Magic or the Hawks in round 1. But not too much you can pull from tonight's game. Obviously, seeing our bench guys get the reps in, get the opportunities to play. Peyton Pritchard was able to score at will, also being able to facilitate. If you can get him to be on one of these hot streaks heading into round 1, it just sets the Celtics so much further apart. And if the starters can come back feeling good and near 100%, this team's looking almost has me feeling very, very confident heading into this year's playoffs, and I'm very, very excited for this to get started. I'm getting the jitters already just thinking about what we have coming up in store for us.
You know, it was definitely, for me, I mean, today obviously was just a little exhibition game. Nobody else was, like Rob was saying, we started the show, none of our stars were playing. Obviously, you know, we were expecting a big game. This is like the biggest game that Peyton Pritchard likes to put on a show with. So it was fun to see him, you know, obviously go out there and just be himself, be who we all know is going to be the sixth man of the year this year. But yeah, you know, I mean, obviously this is something that we just know this team is still locked in to get another championship when we start the playoffs next Saturday or Sunday. So, I mean, I like I said to a couple shows ago, like a couple months ago, the Celtics are a much second half of the season better team. So I think, you know, they found their groove and they kind of just want to strive on winning 16 games in this postseason and getting another title. So I just am excited to see how the first round obviously turns out. Not going to jump ahead, but yeah, I just think their focus is still, the vision's so clear still.
Well, one thing we can take away from this game is that we should be glad these games are over. All right.
Yes.
I'm tired of facing
Oh.
these tanking teams. I mean, we said on here against after we came on here for post game after the Knicks game, right? Following the win against the Knicks in overtime, said this will probably be the last intense game of the season. An overtime game where Drew Holiday plays over 35 minutes, Kristaps Porzingis plays over 35 minutes, Jason Tatum, he plays 47 minutes that night, and it felt like, we're kind of ramping up into that playoff vibe. I mean, two playoff teams playing each other, maybe not trying to give too much away, but certainly both playing hard and trying to win the game. That was the last intense game of the regular season, and it was an intense game that was few and far between we saw from the Boston Celtics in the latter half of the season going towards the playoffs. At this moment in time, I cannot wait for every single game now on the horizon to be an intense playoff atmosphere. And I don't even want to say playoff atmosphere because there will be a playoff atmosphere to every single game. I cannot wait for those games to happen because this is the best time of year when it comes to basketball, professional basketball in the NBA. And I'm glad these tanking teams, they're done today. All right. The Eastern Conference played at 1 p.m. Eastern. All of the East games should have been concluded by now. And all of the tanking teams, goodbye in the East. The West, still working on them, getting them out of here. But the teams we're seeing out on the floor right now, it's despicable. It's absolutely despicable what the Charlotte Hornets ran out there today. And it's unfair to all the fans in the arena who go there and pay hundreds of dollars, even thousands of dollars for tickets. It was the two bench squads today. Now that's to be expected in game 82, but some of the pricing for what we're seeing at the end of the season for the competition, it just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And I'm glad we can actually get these games out of the way and go into some more meaningful games and see our normal lineup again. It feels like we haven't seen our normal lineup in a week already. And yet now we get to see it actually next Sunday or Saturday. It'll be either Saturday or Sunday. The Celtics will start their playoff journey once again. We'll have to wait another week. But I'm just glad that the regular season has concluded at this point because really those last 10 to 20 games for the C's, yes, they're trying to secure that 2 seed, but they've had it locked up for most of the season. They haven't moved from that 2 spot since October 30th. From a standings, climbing or descending aspect of the Celtics season, it's been kind of boring. It's just been a ride on the 2 seed all season long. And at the end, it was just about maintaining that spot and staying healthy and playing a schedule that was mostly filled with tanking teams. I'm glad all of that's over, and I'm glad that we can conclude now the regular season and see 61 wins on the year. That's still pretty good. Only 3 games behind where last year's team finished. You can easily pick 3 games on the schedule where you go, the Celtics, they should have pulled that one out right there. And yet they didn't. The Christmas game against the Sixers, the Raptors game, the Kings game earlier on this season.
Game, back in
Hawks
the
game.
Holiday had that weird foul,
100%. And you look at the list of 21 losses for the Celtics, you can easily pick out 4 or 5 of them that the Celtics arguably should have won in the spot they were in, and yet they didn't. They still get to 61 wins, and Franco, 1 win off. I was 2 wins off. I said 59. I was a little more pessimistic 15 games ago, but Franco, 62, a little bit more optimistic. And Celtics, they just fall short. So they still did what I said they were going to do. They're just going to fall short, but it wasn't of 60 wins. It was just to Franco's expectations. Also, Griffin, shout out to you too. The 62 win Celtics didn't happen, but 61 win, we'll take it.
Undefeated for those final 15 games. I think he was saying 64 or something. He's got a little bit more close. Yeah.
They came close.
I mean, after that post game, I want to say they only lost, I guess, twice. It was to the Heat and the Magic.
Yeah. No, I mean, they came close. It was a great year all around. I'm so with you guys. The past 10 to 15 games have been it's just kind of been the Celtics. We know where they are. Seamus, you said it. They locked up the 2 seed. They've been the 2 seed now for 4 or 5 months running. I mean, there really hasn't been any standings movement. And I think once we saw Boston get back to their winning ways about 30 games ago, really the beginning of February is kind of when they kicked it into high gear. That last 5-game stretch before the All-Star break, and then obviously post All-Star break. Since we've seen what we needed to see out of Boston, this is what we've been waiting for. This is what the players have been waiting for. I mean, all year long, they're looking for that title defense into the playoffs, and it's finally here. As for tonight, again, I'm with you, Brendan. Pritchard game 82. He likes to show out. The young guys got some good run for them, I think, because again, you never know if Hauser goes down. You got to call on Walsh or whatever. These are just some extra reps, some playing heavy minutes, getting their legs, ready. Nothing surprising though. I mean, your big three tonight was going to be Pritchard, Kornet, and Hauser, and that's exactly what it was for you. Pritchard 34, Hauser 15, Kornet 11. I think that, you saw some good Walsh minutes there. I think this is probably one of the better Walsh games we saw all year, which is a good sign. You want to see him play his best in the last game, so we'll take that. But Boston right now is cruising into the playoffs, into the first round. Brendan, I thought you said something. It's not looking ahead anymore into the first round of the playoffs because it's here. The next game the Celtics will play will be game 1 on the TD Garden floor against either the Atlanta Hawks or the Orlando Magic. So, you're right. It's a week away, but it's no longer. That is what the Celtics focus is on. Tomorrow, they're going to wake up and start game planning for one of those two teams, the Atlanta Hawks or the Orlando Magic. They're going to begin that process in title defense, and it's very, very exciting. So let's look, though, guys, at the lead tracker, the last lead tracker of the regular season here against the Charlotte Hornets today. Again, it was almost a wire-to-wire win. Those two little hiccups there for probably a combined, 45 seconds of play to a minute of play there. It was high tide throughout the entire first half, and then you can see there Charlotte kind of started chipping away, and it got low tide there. But again, Boston's largest lead of the night was 21 to Charlotte's 3. 3 lead changes, 2 times tied. Again, guys, not much to pull from this game, but while we're still on this topic, any positives, any players that stood out, anything that to you was, something good you saw tonight?
That first half was beautiful from this team. Being able to see them catch fire like that is exactly what you need to see. You need to see Sam Hauser hitting consistent 3-point shots heading into the playoffs. During round 1, when he gets subbed in and he starts hitting a couple threes, that's going to be a huge factor for this team when it comes down to the stretch of a 7-game series. Is what contributions can you get from your bench guys? And tonight was a good showing of that. I think that you got to see players like Torrey Craig. He didn't score tonight, but you saw him very active on both sides of the ball. You see him he ignites a lot of fast breaks and transitions for the Celtics. I've noticed in the past few games. That's going to be very helpful during the second and third quarter of these playoff games. We got to see J.D. Davison, who received his standardized contract, now officially up with not with the main squad, but the Boston squad. He was able to contribute, and then during the second half, you kind of saw the Charlotte Hornets kind of contest the Celtics a little bit, bringing that lead down a little bit. Yusuf Nurkic was playing a very aggressive game, especially trying to get under Luke Kornet and Peyton Pritchard's skin during the third and fourth quarter, which I'm extremely happy that the Celtics didn't retaliate, because he's going to be sitting at home on his couch for the playoffs, and we're going to be potentially facing suspensions if that were the case and they decided to respond to him trying to get under their skin, him diving on top of Pritchard during a live ball, him pushing over Luke Kornet. But I would be mad too if I was Yusuf Nurkic and I was on the Charlotte Hornets and especially as their backup big man. But for tonight's game, just got to see these guys get their footing, and that's all you can look for. Obviously, seeing these guys put together 5 to 10 minute segments of time is much more important to me than what they can do throughout the whole entire game, like looking at the box score. seeing what stats they put up. It's what they can do within a short period of time, and especially how they can gel their game that they had today into when the starters are implemented into the lineup.
This was definitely, I mean, obviously, you see it right on my hat right here. Definitely, we already know it's going to be a big game for Peyton Pritchard, obviously. But I know we'll talk about him a little bit later in the show too. But can we just give flowers to Luke Cornett? I just think that he's just been the guy that has just been. Oh, I don't know what that was. Oh, applaud. Okay, yeah. Well, listen, because this is a guy. I honestly, he had to grow on me for a couple of seasons. I'm not going to lie to you, but Luke Cornett has he's in my good graces now. I just think that he's been the X factor with this team for the past 10, 15 games, helping out that lineup with sitting some guys some nights too, especially. So, I just give my hats off to Luke Cornett these past couple of games, especially towards the end of the season as well. He's just really had a lot of momentum on his shoulders as well. But, as for tonight's, these guys in the starting lineup, there's only 3 of them that are going to get big playoff minutes. And then obviously it's, Peyton Pritchard, Hauser, and Cornett. The other 2, Craig and Shireman. Now, you didn't see too much of them from them today. But, as far as the other 3, though, I think they definitely can be guys that are going to help us get to the playoff spot for sure.
Well, looking at the lineups today, I believe I said this last post game, but it's the normal guys for the Boston Celtics who show up and show out in these occasions. And from a standpoint of who's actually going to be contributing to the playoff rotation for the Boston Celtics, it's nice to see some of the contributors actually play well when they're given the chance and the spotlight to play well. I mean, Pritchard today, you see him on the top of the screen. He's our player spotlight. 34 points on the night, 7 rebounds, 7 assists, 14 of 25. 14 of 25. I'm glad Pritchard had this game. I know we'll probably talk about him more in a little bit here, but I'm glad Pritchard had this game from the standpoint of he wanted this game in Orlando, 100%. Peyton Pritchard wanted this game in Orlando. Geez, there are so many games going on today, I will say, in the NBA. You try to find the Celtics games. There's so many games going on. It's every single team is playing today. But Pritchard, he takes 25 shots today. He hits 14 of them, has himself a night, and they were talking about the Pritching hour in the fourth quarter there, and that's when the Celtics started to pull away from the Hornets the early portion of the fourth quarter. Now, it was a little bit competitive there at the end of the game, but Pritchard and the bench, well, really the entire bench for the Celtics on a normal occasion, they were just playing throughout the game tonight, or today rather, as starters. And from that standpoint, you just like to see the normal contributors play well. And there were some add-ons because, Rob, you do mention Jordan Walsh. He's more of an add-on now, in my opinion. I don't think we're going to see him much in the playoffs, if at all, unless we see some garbage time in the playoffs. But then this performance today just shows you, okay, there's some that development we thought was going to be there this season. It's still somewhat coming around the corner. He had a good rebounding game today. He looked comfortable with the ball in his hands on the offensive end of the floor, looked decisive there. And we all know that can change via the lineups you play with, whether Jordan Walsh is playing with that second tier lineup or that first tier lineup. Some of that comfortability can change, but it's an optimistic point to see that from Jordan Walsh. But just going down the list here, I mean, you look at Hauser, 4 of 7 from 3 today. Peyton Pritchard, already mentioned him. He took 25 shots at 14 of them. Luke Cornett, he was 5 of 9, 11 points, double figures. Jordan Walsh, I mentioned him. He had 10 points off the bench, 4 of 7 from the floor. And Shireman, he could not hit a shot the entire day. He was 2 of 14 on the day, 2 of 10. And they were nice looks from the floor, I will say, for Shireman. And just couldn't get him to go. That was the one, dark spot on the Celtics night, is just how much opportunity Shireman got and how much, he didn't really turn it into. But everybody else, you're looking at Cornett, Hauser, Pritchard, primarily, they were able to produce for the Celtics. And that's what you want to see out of them going into the playoffs, because on this bigger stage, if they're not performing on that stage, what is the confidence level of them performing with the A team? Now, we know the circumstances are completely different, and we know these guys, they're good to perform on the A team. Pritchard, Cornett, Hauser, but it's just good to see them getting that rhythm, getting that flow, and finding some opportunity right before the playoffs. It's always nice to see the bench guys go out there and win the game as well. These last 2 games, they won the game. That Orlando Magic game, a little sour taste afterwards, thinking, the bench unit came out, they just got smacked. And offensively, we saw in that game 76 points, the team was not able to get anything going offensively. Pritchard was just hounded that game. It felt like that at times today, no doubt, scoring under 20 points in I believe the third quarter. And let's see, did we do it twice? Am I mistaken? Did we do it twice? No, the Hornets did it twice. The Celtics only did it once, but 21 points in the second, 15 points in the third, 24 in the fourth. So you saw the offense struggling after that first quarter where they put up 33 points, but it's good that the team out there today was actually able to come out and win the game, because that Orlando game, it was just like, whoa, this is an ultimate failure. I mean, they were not even able to stay in the game whatsoever. Now, Orlando was playing for a spot that night, and the Celtics weren't yet. Now, against the Hornets, you want to be going into the regular season, or sorry, not the regular season. You want to be ending the regular season and going into the playoffs on a good note. And the last two games, really the last three games, from my perspective, it's just nice to see some of the regular contributors off the bench perform well in a bigger spotlight. Some of the add-ons, it is what it is. I mean, they'll get their run tonight and today, but in the playoffs, we're not going to see too much of them.
So, as for this game, yeah, I agree. I mean, it's like here's my one positive, right? I mean, not one positive, right? But like the one thing I really like about game 81 and game 82 for the Boston Celtics, it gives opportunities like Hauser, Kornet, and Pritchard, those three, to stay hot, right? Because again, those guys are so hit or miss. And I don't want to say hit or miss, but they're such rhythm players, especially Pritchard and Hauser, less so Luke. Luke has really kind of like shaped himself into the ultimate like glue guy. And it's really tough for Luke to have like a bad game. It has to be a matchup problem, really, if you see Luke struggle. But for someone like Hauser, he checked in, he played 28 minutes, 15 points, 4-7 from deep. That's a great game to go into the playoffs. Coming off of, like, that's what you want to see. And same thing goes to Pritchard. Didn't shoot the ball necessarily amazing from three, but he got it going. 34 points, 14 to 25. Like, that was an efficient, that's a good game when you're a bench player for a confidence booster. It's a great game to end the year off and to go into the regular season, or excuse me, go into the postseason playing like. So again, as for this game, overall, Hauser, Kornet, Pritchard, those are the three guys I was watching. Hate to say it. Everyone else was a little. JD checked in, gave us some good minutes, right? 4 of 11. He put the ball in the hoop a couple times to your guy, but I'm sorry, I'm a little distracted. We got a little special guest coming join us for game 82. A little special guest we got joining us.
What did he do?
So let's get the man back in the arena.
Oh my goodness gracious!
The man.
Oh my goodness gracious!
For game 82 with this Franco. Is that cran pomegranate? What we got?
Cran grape.
Oh my! I can't believe it.
You're a little rusty. You're muted.
I can't believe it.
Yeah, you're muted.
You're muted.
Whoa.
Was this just to bring him in to just keep him on mute? I don't.
Hold on, we got some.
No, the mic's just been off for so long that it's like it's
Dusty.
Losing things.
Franco wasted no time.
It's Dusty.
Oh my goodness.
Is it on?
No.
Nope, not yet.
Oh no.
Is it on?
No, we got. Oh, wait, you're muted. You got to unmute your mic. Yeah, it's right there. You gotta hit that. You know what you're doing. I don't gotta tell you.
I know what I'm doing.
There it is. There it is.
What up?
Well,
what up, fellas?
How we doing, sir?
Hello.
I'm doing all right. Franco, I heard that shot at you. My mic was muted, not yours. How we doing, fellas? I mean, come on. I said this earlier, 64 wins last year, 61 wins this year. New ownership, obviously financially, the future of this team is up in the air. So enjoy every second you can now, because, we don't know what this team and what our situation is going to look like in the coming years, but living in the moment, this team looks really sharp heading into the playoffs. I mean, we were sitting here January was just a scrutinizing month for us. It felt like every other game was win, loss, win, loss, win, loss. And there were nights where, we were sitting here and we didn't even know how to assess this team. And usually after Rob's 25 games, you probably get a really good idea of what this team was. And in January, we didn't have the best idea of where this team was. We knew that these guys were good. We knew they were capable of being good, but I don't know, was there championship fatigue going through, or was it just the dog days of the season, as Seamus put it? But the Celtics strung together a really strong stretch of, late February to now obviously middle of April. And that's the time that you want to see the Celtics play this type of basketball. That's the time you want to see guys get healthy. And, obviously we'll assess Jaylen Brown, but for the most part, the Celtics team looks ready to go, go the distance the second year in a row.
Oh my gosh. First of all, welcome back, Justin. Jeez, I feel like, I don't even know what to do right now. I'm like, I feel like this is like, I need to like get out of my chair. I need to like find something to celebrate with. Like, you guys got cigars? Like, can we all smoke a cigar right now? Like game 82, like let's do a victory cigar. Like for real, like we need to break those out. I mean, we got all these sponsorships. I mean, there's gotta be like a Cuban cigar company we could contact for these like red cigars. We saw the ocean spray.
Cubans? Cuba, are those legal?
No.
Are those, no. Cubans are
I
illegal,
don't
aren't
think
they?
they are. I think they are. Nice, Seamus.
I didn't say anything. I didn't say anything.
Seamus is the last guy that usually puts us. Oh my God. Also, can I just really quick? I haven't been on in a while. Can I just really quick give my boy Luke Cornett his flowers?
Yeah,
for
go
his
for
play?
it. Go for it. Yeah.
I don't want to break it to you, Justin, but I might have mentioned it before
Brendan
before you
did.
got
He
on.
did. He
I'm happy that Luke Cornett is being the topic of conversation, because a year or two ago, we were talking about, well, not we, certainly not we, but certain people in the live streams are talking about there's no place for Luke Cornett even on this team, let alone on the court. So, right. I mean, in all seriousness, credit to Luke and his ability to be available every single night and just play his role to perfection. I still answer DMs and I still look at comments and everything. And there's still people out there who still think that Luke Cornett doesn't have a place on this team. And for me, I'm saying, what are you doing? What are you thinking? And this is such a weird comparison, because I wasn't alive for this. And two, I'm not saying so much a skill level, but I'm talking more of the role of it. Bill Walton in the 80s when he came to Boston, right? Nobody really wanted Bill Walton. Those foot injuries were, everybody thought Bill Walton was gone by, and he comes into Boston, wins Sixth Man of the Year, and he plays his role to perfection, wins the NBA title for the Celtics, and is in my opinion one of the best backup centers the Celtics have ever had. Obviously the name Bill Walton, but he certainly wasn't what he was in his Portland days, but he was still terrific for this team. And I look at Luke sort of in that role on a championship team as the backup center, and he's able to come in every night and produce for this team, whether it's rebounding, whether it's playing in the dunker spot, whether it's the pick and roll. We know his ability to shoot the three ball, even though he only attempted 3 of them this season. We know that Luke Cornett is kind of a jack of all trades and plays his role so well. So I just want to come on here and give my shout out to Luke Cornett, because I feel as if I've been very high on Luke for a while, and this is as high as I've been on him in a while. And it comes at the perfect time heading into the playoffs when you're looking at matchups probably against bigger teams. Cleveland's in your way, New York's in your way, and Luke played phenomenal against New York. I mean, friggin' everybody played good against New York. You guys got to cut out. You guys have to cut out me saying that New York's our biggest threat in the You guys still have that.
I know. I mentioned that the other post game show. I said I gotta check on Justin with that one.
I mean, because it's ridiculous. Not only are the Knicks not a threat to us, they're not a threat to anybody. I just watched them blow a 23-point lead the other night to the Cleveland Charge. I mean, it was ridiculous. But no, seriously, shout out to Luke and shout out the Stay Ready group too. I mean, coming in here against Charlotte, a tough game, got out to a phenomenal start. And was able to clutch it out. Shout out your boy JD, signing a contract for the Celtics and hitting some clutch buckets here down the stretch to put this game away. But I mean, vibes are at an all-time high right now. If you're a Celtics fan,
They are.
Well,
And
let's bring up some of these real quick. Just saying, we're on Luke Cornett. He's the
Yeah,
man of the
I was ready
people.
about
this.
I'm not
There he
kidding
is.
you. Maybe a little biased since Luke Cornett. I'm like the biggest Luke Cornett fan, but like this is like the greatest video on the internet I think I've
that
ever
was
seen.
good. That was
I mean,
good.
this is golden right here. This is golden tonight. He had a putback in a block, and he ran over to Drew and Scal and had a comment for them. Like, I mean, this is elite right here. Look at this: 40 beats 9, and then I think the video of Brad Stevens. I mean, look at the first down Celtics.
Which way?
The video of Brad Stevens talking about Derek White. He was actually talking something good about Derek White, but they edited it and made it sound like he was actually talking bad about Derek White. It was the best. This was a cinematic masterpiece.
Well, and you know what? I wish I could give credit to this video, but I just watched a video on Boston's use of Luke Cornett. I got to give credit to the coaching staff too. He did not have a role under Ime, if I'm remembering correctly.
No, not really.
Not really. So shout out to the coaching staff for finding a role in which Luke, because Luke's not like, and it's weird because he's like was a threat from behind the arc and coming into the league and really even his first year with Boston, he can shoot. He doesn't anymore, but they use him around the perimeter so well. And that it's really, I mean, if you watch it, and they did a phenomenal breakdown. It's a shame. It was on TikTok. It's a shame I can't give them their credit. But I mean, it was phenomenal, the breakdown, the ability of Boston's coaching staff to get Luke off space into the rim diving as a diver for a 7'2" guy that, isn't the most, Luke Cornett's not the most agile guy, right? He kind of looks like a deer on ice sometimes, but he makes it work. In the way Boston uses him is, I think, really undervalued in terms of when you look at bench players in their role. And it is crazy. I know. And it feels like every time I talk about Luke, I have to go back to about almost a year and a half ago at this point with the conversation we had on Postgame with Seamus. I mean, I will eat my words. I really did not see this coming. And for him to produce on literally all rebounding, offensive rebounding, both ends there, he can score. He saw some phenomenal passes coming from him. 4 blocks with a steal. He had 5 stocks today. Like, I mean, he was just phenomenal, and he's been phenomenal.
I will say, that video you're referring to, I think I retweeted that or I reposted it on Instagram or something. I know I saw it the other day and I reposted it. I will say though, Rob, in your defense on that specific clip, and I will say you just referred to when Ime was the head coach of this team, Luke didn't have a spot. I also remember, if I remember correctly, Seamus, you probably know this best, contract-wise and everything, that Ime season, Luke was a two-way player, wasn't he? And we converted him at the deadline because we had 5 open roster spots, or was that the year prior?
That is what my memory serves me as well. For some reason, it's one of those things where you're like, you know it so well that you think like, it's like you open your garage, you don't even know the code. You're just like, oh, you just know the motion of it. Like, that's what it feels like. I'm pretty sure he was on a 2-way, and then he was standardized because after the trade deadline, it's amazing that team made the finals because they literally had 10 players, like 10, like, all right, we trust you players. They're playing with 8, period. And then the rest of the roster was Juwan Morgan, Malik Fitz, Nick Stauskas. It was like Luke Cornett was at
Matt
the
Ryan,
end.
right? Like,
Matt Ryan,
Matt Ryan, yeah.
And like literally all those guys in the summer, they were traded for Malcolm Brogdon. Like it was like Tice and Neesmith and all these guys for Malcolm Brogdon. It was like, you just take every single contract we signed at the end of the season last year, Pacers. You take them and they're unguaranteed. You can waive them, do whatever you want with them. But yeah, in 21, Luke Cornett, we've said this many times in the past, but we have to keep coming back around on it because the story just keeps getting better, especially after these games where he's barking, raising the roof. It's a first down celebration. We saw the other night. He's the man of the people. He's trying to get that Tommy Award. I mean, let's just give Luke Cornett the Tommy Award. Does he really need to have the most Tommy Awards to win the whole thing? I mean, but he's such a communal good person that might as well just win it. But realistically talking about Luke Cornett right now, his journey within the Celtics organization has been spectacular. It is one of the best stories in the entire NBA because in 2021, the Celtics acquired Luke Cornett off the Daniel Tice trade when the Celtics were simply just trying to get rid of money. Now, if the Celtics were competitive in 2021, they wouldn't have Luke Cornett today. That season, it was a 500 year, and at the deadline, the Celtics' whole goal was shed some money, and they also picked up Evan Fournier for a couple of second-round picks, put him into the trade exception, balanced out the books,
Trigger
and
warning.
we went, oh, we got somebody that we might want to retain during the summer, could pay during the summer. We let the Knicks handle that, of course, and that was a mistake. And we need to shed cap. That's what the Celtics needed to do in 2021. And they did that by trading away Daniel Tice's salary. They made multiple moves that day and shifted everything around. But one of them that it's all the moves in the margins, right? Like if you look at NBA history and all the good teams, the stars make up the top of the totem pole there. Brown, Tatum, they're in place. But it's all the characters, it's all the others, right? And talk about the others on a roster and what makes a championship roster so good. It's all the others. That was a moment in time where everybody was focusing on Evan Fournier and can we get Aaron Gordon and what kind of real rotation player could we get and put on the Celtics or deal away for somebody better, right? But that one salary shedding deal for the Celtics, trading Daniel Tice to the Chicago Bulls, that was a marginal move that paid off for the Celtics way later on in time, and we're seeing it literally today on the parquet floor, and even this past month and a half. I mean, really, this whole season, the past 2 seasons with Luke Cornett. But that day, Celtics trade Daniel Tice off to the Chicago Bulls, and Luke Cornett comes back in return. Everyone thinks at that moment in time, they see Luke Cornett, they're like, throw in, he's making a minimum, gonna waive him. That's gonna be it for Luke Cornett. He's just here because we traded Daniel Tice. And he was kept on the roster initially. And then over the summer, the Celtics, the Celtics did what we expected them to do. They allowed Luke Cornett to walk away. We've seen that with multiple low-end free agents of the past. I mean, how many times have we seen a player, not going to extend the qualifying offer here, or, this player, he becomes an unrestricted free agent. Are we signing him to another minimum? Nope, no, we're not. And we just move on, replace that spot with somebody younger with maybe a little bit more potential we feel like we want to develop. And that's what the Celtics did with Luke Cornett. Played with Cleveland's G League team, Milwaukee's G League team. And again, that adds on to the story because those are 2 contenders in the East. Cleveland could definitely use a guy like Luke Cornett. I know they have the double big lineup, but why not for their depth? Why not? He's a cheap piece. Milwaukee, they rely on Brook Lopez so much this season. They need somebody like Luke Cornett to be sitting back there in the rotation. And Bobby Portis, did he just come back? I believe I just saw him explode a beer can the other day. Literally exploded on the floor. Literally exploded on the floor. But Luke Cornett doesn't end up with those 2 teams who are both contenders in the East competing with the Celtics. Comes back to the Celtics. I believe it was on that 2-way. Then he's standardized because of circumstances of the 2022 deadline. And then after that, it's just a build on from there of earning more and more minutes within the rotation. He was at one point in the Caires slot where, he's thrown in every now and then, maybe plays well, maybe doesn't. Celtics don't use him that much. But yet, looking at 22-23, it's insane I looked at that roster last night. Literally half of the roster was changed. And the funniest part is you see rotation spots 12 and 13. It was Pritchard and Cornett. And I'm thinking, do people think that was going to be the 6th man of the year one day and the 7th or 8th man in the rotation? Did we think that back in 2023? It was like, no. Those guys were 12 and 13 in minutes played per game. And Cornett survives that season. Last season starts building himself up into a regular rotation role. Still kind of in that in-between. We use him here, use him there, don't use him other places. And then this season, Cornett has easily solidified himself as the 3rd big man in the rotation behind Porzingis, behind Horford. And that's a big slot because the Celtics specifically built this roster and big man rotation around the fact that Al Horford is 38 years old and Porzingis, he can't play over 60 games in a season. And yet, between Tillman, between Keita, between Cornett solidified himself as easily that 3rd big. easily that third big in that rotation.
Mm.
And Keita, he's right by, Keita and Tillman, they're right behind Cornet in that regard. But you just see the role in which Cornet plays on the Celtics now. It's way beyond that 13th slot in the rotation. I mean, if you're in the 13th slot, I mean, right now, I would guess that's probably somebody like Jordan Walsh. If I'm not, I don't know, it could be Shireman. I mean, somebody like that. Tillman? I mean, I know Tillman. He has like what, 7 minutes per game this year?
Well, he didn't even play tonight, and that tonight was probably the game that you would expect him to be playing. And this was.
Did he play at all?
No,
No,
he
I don't
was
think he did.
campaign, did not participate. So
Franco, are you finally off that ship now? Can we
I still will have faith in Xavier Tillman just because I know
Nah.
what he is capable of. It's going to just come down to situation. Perhaps it's him moving on to a different team, but I
Not
think
on
as
this team.
well, I
Like,
think
what
it's
team
still
is going
there.
to utilize him if he can't produce on this winning team? It's like I'm just talking about too, in a spot where it could have been Tillman's spot, that third big man spot.
That was a
I mean,
conversation
seriously, the
for,
Celtics
like,
5 big
January.
men, and it's like we need that extra depth because Horford and Porzingis, we can't rely on them to play consistently, and at least in the regular season. And it's like Tillman, tonight's game is a prime Tillman game. I mean, even against somebody like Yusuf Nurkic, it's like we're playing Yusuf Nurkic and Taj Gibson. It's like Tillman can't get minutes in a game where we're playing 2 big men from the 2010s.
Well, here's how I look at Tillman. Okay, so the whole Tillman thing when we got him initially, like he wasn't shooting threes like he is now in Boston. Like when he was with Memphis, he was this like grit and grind guy. I mean, rightfully so. That's a grit and grind city, but an undersized physical center, but he was always down in the post doing work both defensively and offensively. Comes to Boston, and listen, maybe we were just talking about it a few minutes ago with how Luke Cornet and Ime Udoka, Luke Cornet didn't really, his game really wasn't that strong with Ime Udoka, and we didn't know really what Cornet was looking like. We had a 7'3" guy just standing at the perimeter, and then Mazzulla comes in, kind of shapes up Cornet, and now Cornet's this really, really, really good rim roller, and Tillman comes in with Mazzulla, and Mazzulla's style is shoot the three. Tillman standing in the corners a lot, shooting three, something that he's only made 20-something% of in his career, something he's not strong with doing. And he hasn't really formed into a terrific three-point shooter since acquiring him last trade deadline. So I don't think he fits in with what we're doing. Maybe he can go out and help another team for whatever he can do, but his game is not 3-pointers, and they sit him at the 3-point line, and that's just not going to work. It's not going to work. He's not a 3-point shooter. He's never been a 3-point shooter, and if that's all you're going to put him in the game to do, I'm sorry, that's not a threat. He is not a threat. I love X. He's a great teammate. He's a great guy to have. I mean, he's mentally the great teammate to have. Great locker room guy, but he's just not doing it on the court when he gets his minutes. And to me, like, he looks like he's never touched basketball before. I can never do what he does. He's better than me. He's closer to LeBron than I'll ever be. But like, it just seems like every time Tillman gets in the game, everything's going a million miles an hour for him. Like he's a rookie.
That's a good way to put it.
And that's how I see X. I don't think we'll have to worry about it in the playoffs. I mean, I who knows what the rotation. I mean, usually the rotations only run 7-8 guys deep. We are a deep team. We could roll out 9 if we really wanted to. We'll see how Mazzulla rolls into that postseason with. Depends on the matchup also if you're facing a smaller team. But I don't think Xavier Tillman. Let's just put that this way. This is Chris Forsberg said this about Jaden Springer when Springer was traded. If you have to rely on a guy like Xavier Tillman in the playoffs, you're probably doing something wrong. Okay. Like when you have a big man depth of Al Horford, Kristaps Porzingis, and Luke Cornet playing the way he's been playing, and you have to rely on Xavier Tillman, your backup big, you're probably doing something really wrong, and you're probably not going to win the playoff series. So I think that's where we're at with Tillman. At least that's where I'm at with that.
No, I agree because I think he's very capable. We've seen it before. I mean, he was capable on Memphis. He was contributing factor to a playoff basketball team. I do think it's misutilization. Even when he checks into the game, I love what you said in the game kind of going like, a million miles an hour for him. He checks in and it's just a lot of threes too. It's like there's nothing else to his game. It's almost like Mazzulla's telling him go in there. And again, this is just, I'm not saying this is what's being said. I'm just saying that's what it looks like. And Mazzulla's like, all right, just go shoot, right? Like get shots up. It's kind of like what it is, what it seems like. So I agree. I wouldn't be shocked. Again, Justin, you alluded to this when you joined the show. There's probably gonna have to be some financial, dancing around in the summer. And I wouldn't be surprised if the guy Tillman who just got extended will be shipped. I don't know for what. I'm not saying literally. I just wouldn't be surprised. So, for that, for Tillman, I agree. I think the ship sailed for Tillman in Boston. But again, you never know because you look at Luke in his emergence and in adapting. Maybe Tillman over the summer can develop a jump shot. You just never know with these things. So we'll have to wait and see. I do want to talk about the first round matchup, guys, and who you guys ideally would like to see. The East has been set. The East is set. We can pop this up right here for you guys to get a visual on it. The bracket in the East has been set now for a couple days, obviously. Boston looking at either Orlando or Atlanta. Now, both Orlando and Atlanta, Boston this year actually struggled against both teams, 1 and 2 against both of them. However, I don't see how that operating, translate. I'm not seeing that happen in terms of Boston falling down 1-2 or whatnot. But for you guys, you look at a matchup, 7 games, best, first team 1-4. Which team are you picking that you would rather see, or really who poses a bigger threat in terms of prolonging a series against Boston?
I mean, you look at the play-in game that is surrounded Boston. You get Paolo versus Trae Young. Orlando, these are two teams who have given the Celtics some real problems these past couple of years, but come playoff time rolls around, there's not a team that I think will take the Celtics down in 7 games in the East, especially one of these two teams that we're potentially facing. I will say I'm a little bit nervous about when you look at playoff basketball, a lot of it does really come down to defense, right? And I do think that Atlanta could be a better team to play. I think Orlando's a better defensive team, but then you look at the other flip side of Orlando, and they are a horrific offensive team.
Yeah.
Like their 3-point shooting is brutal. I know the other day what we saw in Orlando, I know our top 6 guys were missing, but those shots they were making, I don't think anybody realized. If you don't have league pass and you don't pay attention to Orlando Magic, that was very uncharacteristic for them. Like they were.
No, I was saying the other night, they actually didn't shoot well. They 36.5%. I'm saying we shot 17.5. Like we made them look good. Like they didn't even shoot that well.
Yeah, but they made like 23, 17, 18, 19, whatever the case was, threes. Like that is uncharacteristic for them. They are not that high volume 3-point shooting team. So I think it really just comes down to matchups. I look at Atlanta and I'm like, oh, these guys have some really solid pieces in Atlanta, but it's all like Atlanta's been a mess for a few years. Very middle of the pack team. I can't believe Clint Capella is still on that team. It's just like every year you just think the guy's getting moved and he's just not. I don't know. These two teams have their own. I don't think it matters for Boston. I think this could be a 4 to 5 game series for Boston. I worry about Atlanta being a 6-game series. Maybe it's just because they pushed us to 6 a couple of years ago. But I think I'd rather, in my opinion, I'd face Orlando. I would. Because just I think Boston matches up better. I think that the physicality is going to be good for them. I do think Orlando's a lot more physical than Atlanta. And then, I mean, I'm not looking ahead, fellas, but I'll let you guys give your thoughts on your first round opponents, but draw the graphic back up. There's a potential second round matchup of my Detroit Pistons, who I think are going to take down the New York Knicks in 6. This is going up and down the standings is for another episode, but I'm pretty excited about how the bracket worked out in Boston's favor. You avoid Giannis in that second round, you avoid Cleveland in that second round, and You don't have to face one of those guys. I mean, or New York, I understand playoffs are a totally different game than the regular season, but I still think New York is a favorable matchup for the Celtics. So I'm happy with how it turned out. But in terms of the 7-8 game, I really don't think it matters for the Celtics. I think the goal, you got home court, best of 7 against any one of these two teams. This should be a 5-game series max.
Well,
I
mean,
definitely
go ahead, Brendan.
Go ahead. Oh, okay, thank you. In regards to these matchups, like obviously the winner of the play-in tournament, like Justin, I agree with Justin. I'd rather face Orlando too, not only just because of that, but just because we know how we can deal with some of these other teams too. But Orlando, I just feel like would be an interesting matchup just to see because we've had a lot of different opponents these past couple of years, minus like the Heat, etc. Atlanta we've already faced in a couple of games too. But Orlando is a team that is trying to get to that playoff spot too. So it'll be interesting to see how they can handle Orlando, especially how they haven't been a solid playoff team. They're still trying to figure it out. I think as well, like the Hawks are as well. But I still think that they're going to be not too troubling, but they could give us a good game or two there.
Very young kids just make a series annoying. So
right.
I think Orlando is probably the safer bet. I think that it's going to be a more physical series if you end up facing Orlando. I think they're definitely more of a team that matches up well, can take the Celtics out of their groove compared to the Atlanta Hawks, who can potentially catch up a little bit of heat and turn that into a shootout, which I'm still confident that the Celtics would win a shootout against Atlanta. But when it comes down to a 7-game series, it's all about experience when it comes to these teams. So I would rather face off with Orlando, but I also think that the Celtics would have the Atlanta Hawks solved as well. But either or, I don't see a series spanning past 6 games when you look at either opponent.
It has to be Atlanta between the two teams. Now, the one thing that I look at with Atlanta and the Magic is the Magic, they're going to try to beat you with defense. The Hawks, they're going to try to beat you with offense. And I could see a series against the Hawks where if the Celtics don't defensively control the pace, offensively control the pace of a particular game within that series and let Atlanta run up the possessions, that's when Atlanta could realistically outscore the Boston Celtics. However, just looking at the way Atlanta plays versus the way Orlando plays, the Celtics will have a much easier time trying to slow the pace against the Hawks than they will trying to push the pace against the Magic, because the Magic, they like to play like the Celtics, and they like to play at the Celtics pace. They're 29th and 30th, the Magic and Celtics, in pace, which means the Celtics have to go outside of their realm, which we know they can do. It's not, the Celtics are one of the best teams in the NBA when it comes to playing different styles, and that's what makes them a championship contender on top of all the talent and the other aspects, and which makes this team so great. But the Celtics, they like to play multiple ways. They know how to play multiple ways, but they will have to go outside of the box in order to beat the Orlando Magic. And there is an aspect of that series where you go, well, Orlando, they don't score many points. Justin, you alluded to it. Their offense is absolutely horrendous. They don't like to put up volume because they simply can't score at a volume. They want to keep that volume low, and they want to keep the variance in a way where, it might shift over to us because they're not putting up any points. The Magic do. Those are the two. I look at the series between the Magic. I look at the matchup between potentially the Magic or the Hawks, and the Hawks, I do see a potential for them to have a runaway game, but I also see the potential for the Magic. The Celtics kind of have to go out of their box to play the Magic and beat the Magic. So from those standpoints, there are definite things that you look at one way or the other going, okay, I'd like to play Atlanta because of this aspect, or I'd like to play Orlando because of this aspect. But just looking down the list, Atlanta, they're a worse rebounding team than the Orlando Magic. The Celtics should have more possessions, period, towards themselves in a series against Atlanta because they're going to be the better rebounding team over the Hawks. And the Hawks turn the ball over as well more often than the Orlando Magic. And those two aspects, right? That's what's going to give the Celtics extra possessions. And in a series against the Hawks, the Celtics are going to want to play at their pace, and they should have the advantage in gaining extra possessions because the Celtics don't turn the ball over and they actually rebound to the basketball. And the Atlanta Hawks, they simply do not. And I look at those things and go, well, that's why I want Atlanta in a series. They're going to give the Celtics extra possessions, and the Celtics, if they control the pace of that series, they're going to win that series. Whereas the Magic, you might find yourself in more of a rock fight if you're the Celtics, if you don't step out of your realm and you don't push the pace. And I'll say this too. I think the Magic, they're a little bit more of a wild card team because I know what we're getting out of this Atlanta Hawks team. I just know what we're getting. We're getting 500 ball. I mean, we're getting an Atlanta Hawks team who in game one could easily put up 130 on the Celtics, but then the next 4 games put up 110 and we see the Celtics put up 120. And that's just what it's been with the Atlanta Hawks ever since 2021. They lost in the conference semifinals, the conference finals that year. They beat the Sixers in the conference semifinals. And ever since that moment, the Hawks, that next season, 21-22, the Hawks were expected to be at least a top 4 seed. That didn't happen. They were a perpetual play-in team ever since that moment. There was that crazy stretch the Hawks went on. I don't even know what the record was, but they went like 100 games and they were like 50-50, or 120 games they're like 60-60. They were just pure 500. You know what you're getting out of the Hawks in terms of playing 500 ball. They rearranged their roster around the deadline. You know, they traded away Bogdanovich, who's been a nice piece with the Clippers. They traded away DeAndre Hunter, who's been a nice piece with the Cavaliers. They don't have those players anymore. They took in Terrence Mann and forgot who else they took in those deals. Georges Niang. Yeah, we don't need to mention that name.
gosh,
We
I
literally
can't
haven't.
believe
Justin, you come back
There's
on,
LeVert,
and
too.
we have to drop Georges Niang right away.
Yeah.
See, that's why. Yeah, you know, first round
we
playoff
don't
series,
want-
we could still see Georges Niang in
No,
round
no,
one.
no.
Well,
In round one.
I'm gonna go against the grain here.
But
I'm not
okay,
gonna
let me
lie.
finish this with the Magic, though. Couple players on the Magic, Wagner, Boncaro, those guys could definitely, you know, they could uptick in the playoffs just a little bit. I think we're seeing 8-2 in the last 10 games with the Magic, and that was a stat from the other night. But I think they could be playing a better brand of basketball right now, whereas we see from Atlanta, they've just been middling, if not going more so down than the Pack. So give me Atlanta here. Give me Atlanta.
I think it'd be
Go
a
ahead,
whole
Rob.
different story though with if Jalen Suggs was healthy, but obviously
100%.
Yes.
100%.
That's a
If
good
Jalen Suggs
point.
was in the series, I think I would. Well, first of all, I would still lean Atlanta. I'm leaning Atlanta right now. But if Jalen Suggs was in the series, it would be an obvious no Magic. We don't want the Magic.
I'm gonna go against the grain. I would rather see Orlando, and this is why. Because one, I agree. I think Orlando's from an offensive standpoint, they are just atrocious. And especially when you match them against Boston. I mean, I don't see Orlando taking a game. And I think you could see an Indiana type of series where these games are competitive, where they're hanging around for 4 games in every game, but they're not going to pull away at the end. I look at what Atlanta from a defense, which is weird because I'm not looking at Atlanta from an offensive standpoint. I'm looking at them from a defensive standpoint. What they can throw at Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown is a lot more uncomfortable than what Orlando can throw. I mean, Atlanta has these just big, lengthy forwards that are really athletic that are just going to be a pain for Tatum and Brown to deal with. I mean, you got Dyson Daniels, who's 6'7". You have Jalen Johnson, who's 6'8". You have LeVert, again, below the pack defender. He's 6'6". Terrence Mann's 6'5". I mean, Larry Nance is 6'. You just have these Onyeka Okongwu, 6'10". You just have these big bodies. Zachary Richesay. I mean, these are big forwards that are athletic. They can handle the ball. They are just much more versatile. And when I look at a playoff series, you can't give the same team and the same players the same looks, right? Defensively, you have to come out every game. It's a chess match, different looks. Atlanta's got way more looks they can throw at these guys, way more looks from a defensive standpoint. And then from an offensive standpoint, I see guys that, I mean, Trae Young you said it, he can torch you for 40 in a game 2 on the road. I mean, we've seen it before. So I do think it's, yes, we've seen it. So I really could see Atlanta not just taking 1 game, but I could see them like stealing 2. And all of a sudden, you're just in this like pesky 6-game series against the Atlanta Hawks for some reason, because you have these bench guys that are getting up to play Boston. I can see it. Niang, you could see him not going to LeVert. I could see a random 30-point game from LeVert. Like, I just think Atlanta's tools, right? While they are the worst team both on paper and I think because I think Orlando, if they're healthy all year, they're probably a 50-win basketball team. Right around there, like 48 to 52. I think they fall in that range. But I mean, Atlanta's got some guys that could just muck up a series and just make life living hell on both ends in a matchup against Boston. That's just what I'm looking at. I'm going to pick Orlando. I think we sweep Orlando. I think Atlanta, man, I think they are going to be a pain in the butt. I do not want to see that team.
I also want to see. I'm such a dweeb. I love when we have playoff matchups from like my childhood. Like I've been loving the Celtics Heat because growing up, Rondo, Ray Allen, Pierce Garnett against Wade Bosch, and James and to see Orlando in the first round, it's been a while. Like I remember growing up, like we saw some incredible Celtics versus Magic series growing up, and from a nostalgic standpoint, I'd love to see Orlando as well. Give us a little something different since
that's true.
We've seen the Hawks in recent years, 2016 or 2015, and obviously a couple years ago as well. So it'd be nice to see some fresh faces against the Celtics in the postseason. But you look at Orlando, like I'm sorry, the other night did not impress me. Like that's a team where I understand that they don't have Jalen Suggs, and I totally agree with you, Rob. I'm very high on the Orlando Magic. You guys know I've been high on them for the past few years. Like they are a 50-plus win basketball team if they're able to stay healthy throughout the course of the regular season. But injuries, and even when they've gotten a majority of their guys back, they just haven't been able to gel together because of it's been a struggle for the Magic this season. So to see them in the playoffs, I definitely think would be a preventable matchup for the Celtics. I didn't like how if you're playing your bench, the Boston Celtics missed their top 6 guys, and these guys didn't even crack 100 points the other night. These guys didn't even crack 100 points the other night. And Seamus, I mentioned their 3-point shooting the other night, how many 3-pointers they made. They only scored 96 points, and they had a good 3-point shooting night for them against the Celtics, the main Celtics. I'm really not concerned about the Orlando Magic. This isn't me trashing the Orlando Magic. This is simply on paper, Celtics versus Orlando Magic. The Boston Celtics are clear-cut the better favorite, the better team, and should win this series pretty convincingly. Rob thinks 4. I think 5. I hate to call sweeps because I just always feel like it's just the most Celtics thing to do is to Paolo Banchero's out game 3 in Boston. Celtics lose by 12. Like I just have a feeling like that. You guys got to admit that's like the most Celtics thing to do, and we've seen that in recent years. So, for me, yeah, I agree, Rob. Orlando, and it should be pretty convincingly.
Yeah, I from my perspective here, see, I've gone back and forth on this because, okay, so let's track this. So we played who before Charlotte? Orlando. Okay, after that game, I said out of the 4 teams, okay, so even the Bulls involved, so Bulls and Heat involved, I was like, give me Orlando. What I just saw of the Magic, I mean, you made the points of 96 points against the Celtics bench squad. I understand it was 76 for the Celtics, and they held the Celtics bench squad to 76. The main Celtics, they really were that night. But 96 points, like, ugh. Atlanta, it's like against both of these teams, it's like I keep going back and forth because then on last post game, I went out and I gave all the reasonings. I'm like, okay, Atlanta, I feel more comfortable in. See, that's what I'm like. Do I feel more comfortable in a series against Atlanta? Because I was clipping that video, right, of who we should play. I was like, all right, Atlanta or Orlando, and I'm hearing myself talk. I'm like, why am I arguing against my point right now? Why am I like what I'm literally hearing? I'm like, okay, I'm wanting Atlanta, but then there are points coming up that actually support the argument for Orlando. I mean, I could see either or, Orlando or Atlanta. The Atlanta thing, it does kind of frightens me from an offensive standpoint. That Atlanta can actually score points, and the Magic can't. I mean, quite frankly, the Magic they can't score enough points to hang with the Celtics. think Atlanta, if you let a road game go by, they could. But again, with like rebounding, the turnovers, the pace, it's hard to really balance. You know, Rob, I think you gave some great points about some of the defenders thrown at the Celtics from the Hawks
Thank you.
perspective. There are some from the Magic as well who could
There
probably give
are
the Celtics
definitely.
some run there. But either or opponent, I mean, it's hard because the style of play is much different. You know, I look at the style of play. Are you going to be? Is it going to be? Is it going to be an easier job for the Celtics to compromise Atlanta's style of play, or is it going to be an easier job for the Celtics to go out of the box and force themselves to play differently against Orlando? Like we know Orlando, what they're going to try to do with the Celtics is slow the game down, keep the game at a low pace. And the Celtics, they play at a slow pace. They 100% do. And under those circumstances, the Celtics, they're going to have to push the ball up court. They're going to have to go up tempo on offense. They're going to have to want to get they're going to want to gain more possessions over the Magic because the Magic want to keep it to a low variance. They want to keep it at a more randomized variance for themselves to win the game. Versus Atlanta, the Celtics, they're going to want to keep the pace down, and they're going to want to win the possession battle against Atlanta. They want to have more possessions against ATL. Now, I'll say this: I don't worry. Like clearly, we don't really worry about the Celtics losing to either one of these teams.
No.
It's
No, not at
more the
all.
question is what's going to be the easier series. You know, who's going to grab a game or potentially an extra game within the series. And I think both these teams have the potential to do that from the standpoint of we're 1-2 against both of them this season. 1-2. And in those games, it makes it so hard because, you know, if we go out against Atlanta, we win that NBA Cup game and we win that game in January, we're feeling a lot better about that matchup. But then we have those moments, they happen. You know, Dyson Daniels comes up with 5 steals and the Celtics struggle in those games. The same thing with the Magic. I mean, you have the December game and this latest bench. I mean, the bench game. I might as well get rid of that one. That was not that one. That one's not a real data point within the series between the Magic and the Celtics. But either one of these opponents, I could see being a little frisky towards the C's. But I'm also looking at the morality of the two teams. I think Orlando at this point still wants to fight for something. They're a little bit more of the, I mean, you could say they're the younger team. Atlanta has some young cats too. But Orlando, I do feel like they're a little bit more wild cardish because they've been playing better lately. Orlando's been playing better lately, whereas Atlanta almost seems like a situation. You mentioned Clint Capella. It's like they did this with John Collins. It was like John Collins was on the trade. He was on the trade block every single transaction window for like 3 years. It's like, oh, the trade deadlines are. Where's John Collins going? Oh, the summer comes around. Is Atlanta dealing John Collins? And year after year, he'd be on the roster. Same thing with Clint Capella. Then Atlanta made those confusing moves in the middle of this year. And I just look at like, what is the morality of the team right now in Atlanta? Do they want to just get the season over with? Is this just another failed year? Whereas Orlando, I could see them maybe having the morality of, oh, we're going to steal a couple games from the Celtics. We want to come in and be tough with this team. And even you think about the Goga Batadze, Kristaps Porzingis thing earlier this season. Now, I don't know how much Goga will even play in this series, but we have that going with the Magic. So there's a lot of aspects that kind of tilt this one way or the other. I was on Orlando the other night. Then I switched to Atlanta. It's like now I'm like, you know, Orlando, can they even score enough points to stay in a series with Boston? Like that's a huge point in all of this because Atlanta, I feel like they could score enough points. Whereas Orlando, I don't think they can. And defensively, it's like the Celtics are going to have a better time against Atlanta. But then you do look at some of the bodies the Celtics have to deal with and the style of play. And, you know, where do you draw the line in all of this? I mean, there's no right or wrong answer. I'll say that. But, you know, Atlanta or Orlando, it's going to be interesting to see who wins that game. Now, today they played their bench squads and Atlanta blew out Orlando, but that'll be a different game in Orlando on is it Tuesday? Do we have that dropped yet? I think that was rumored it would be on Tuesday.
Tuesday, I believe, is the 7-8 game for the East.
Yeah, Tuesday's locked. And then Thursday, and then I think game 1, no matter who wins or loses, game 1 will be, they're saying either I think they're saying either the 18th or the 20th. So either Friday or Sunday, which is Easter. Easter
I think in
Sunday.
regards to like the our schedule too for the playoffs, I think I've wrapped my head around this too. I think I might have mentioned it before. Like I think so last year we started on Sunday, the year before we started on a Saturday, then the year before our first finals appearance in 08, it was a Sunday. So I'm gonna guess the first game for us might be Saturday. I could be wrong though, but I've just noticed that like through past series.
Well, I think that's seeding though, because wait,
The
Maybe
3 and
not.
6
It's all
are 1-5
scheduling. They don't
before.
do specific like, oh, you're this seed or that seed or East West. They'll naturally play West games later. Like, the
Right.
late slot will be a West game, the early slot will be an East game. They'll naturally do that, but it's all markets. Like it's like Christmas where you go, oh,
Right.
well, Boston's gonna, play that 5, 6, 7 p.m. game, and the Lakers and Warriors, they're on the prime time 7 p.m. slot. It's gonna be like that for the playoffs. Like whatever the series. That's the thing about the first round. I mean, the 1 and 8 is probably going to be, it's like 1 and 8, probably not going to put that in a primetime slot. But say like, I think a series between Boston and Atlanta, that would be more televised in better time slots than say a series between Boston and Orlando. Like I don't see a Boston Atlanta game falling onto NBA TV, but I could see a Boston Orlando game falling onto NBA TV.
Really?
Boston Atlanta, those are
think the
two
other way
bigger
around.
markets.
I think the other way around. Celtics and
Well-
Hawks were on NBA TV twice in that series 2 years ago.
I think realistically, we're probably gonna get the butt end of it, and probably on NBA TV on either matchup, because especially if you look at some of these first round matchups, let's throw this back on there. West is up in the air, but like you got like Indiana, Milwaukee is going to be like a big time one that they go after. I mean, that could be a 7-game series. That's going to eat up. And LA and Golden State, if they match up, and that is every game's national television.
Is
right?
that
every single one?
Is that locked, or is that just right now?
Very likely, not locked, but extremely likely.
The middle will all. I think the middle will all. Like if you look at all the middle teams, right? 4, 5, 3, 6. Those matchups, like I don't see many of those falling on NBA TV. Period. I see the Thunder facing the Kings, the Mavericks, the
Rockets will be the NBA TV champion. NBA TV
Grizzlies.
We should ask. You guys ever see that guy on TikTok where he ranks the matchups? He like spins a random wheel and he says like, "Oh, would I put this on ABC, TNT, NBA TV, or local?" Do you guys ever see that?
I haven't.
I don't think so. No,
you haven't.
That Heat Bulls game should be on local. I'll tell you that right now.
That's an annual thing at this point. That matchup is an annual play-in matchup.
That is.
It's happened the past 3 years.
This like their third time?
Yes.
Did you guys see Jonas Valanciunas has been a part of every single play-in tournament so far?
Yes.
Like we just need to name the play-in tournament the Jonas Valanciunas tournament.
It's brutal.
I mean, so the East play-in tournament though. Like Rob, remember we had this conversation. I think we had this conversation on the in-season tournament special, where it's like, like now a 10 seed could become a 7 seed or whatever the case is, an 8 seed. It's like in the East this year. I was looking at that today, and I was thinking about like when you said that, and it's like when you said like that is so true, because they get like 10th seed could be like 10, 15 games under 500. And then the 8th or 7th seed that misses the playoffs could be like 5 or 6 games over 500. And that 10th seed made it in. This year for the East, it's like not that big of a crazy difference. Like if a 10th seed got it, like if Chicago got in over in Atlanta, that's not like crazy. Like that's not crazily surprising.
No, they're a game back. Not at all.
Right.
Like the East is very, so like, gosh, I dare I go on my play-in tournament rant. But like,
no, we should. I was about to bring up some December conversations. I'm like, we talked about a lot of this back in December.
I'm sorry, and I want to get into Jaylen Brown shortly, so we will get into Jaylen Brown eventually. But I'm sorry, the East. I'm with you, Justin. The East, like, there's some logic behind the East this year because it really is so close. And you look at like Miami's 3 games back from the 8th seed, and Chicago's a game back from the 8th seed, and 2 games back from the 7th seed. Right? Like there's some logic there. If you shift it out west, the 9 seed is 8 games back from the 8th seed. Why did the Sacramento Kings even get a chance to potentially make the playoffs against a near 50-win team? It's like, it made sense when there were 72 games. When you were missing a whole 10-game portion of the year, it made sense. It made sense in the bubble when you couldn't play the full season. But when you can play 82 games the full year, I'm sorry, and you fall a half game out of the playoffs, sorry, you should have won that game back in December against the Charlotte Hornets. Like it's
second half in OKC, damn it.
It is simply like the play-in tournament. I could talk about it for hours. I'll spare the viewers some time. Stupid. I do agree with you though, Justin. The East actually, like the play-in tournament, could be pretty interesting because a lot of these teams really are pretty on par with each other, record-wise, and it ended closely. So a lot of these bottom, middle of the pack teams can duke it out to who loses in the first round.
Didn't the first year that we did the play-in tournament in 2020, like in the bubble, it was like I think it was Portland and Memphis, if I'm correct. Wasn't there like restrictions on that? Like there were a certain amount of games. Like there were restrictions. I specifically remember when the play-in tournament.
Bring this up.
Yeah, when the play-in tournament was first invented, created, distributed, there was restrictions on teams that make it and teams that don't. Seamus, I'm sure you probably know a little bit more about it than I do, but if my memory is correct, there were restrictions when the play-in tournament was first implemented.
Yeah, and first of all, we talked about this all back in December, and I'll bring up another portion of this conversation. The 10 seed has never made the playoffs before. The 10 seed has never made the playoffs, and that's what needs to happen in order for the play-in tournament to be legitimized further. Because if we're just playing the play-in tournament, the 10 seed and the 9 seed means nothing. I mean, the 9 seed's made it before, but the 10 seed, they mean nothing. I mean, what are we doing here? What are we actually doing? And yeah, the play-in tournament was made for more seasons like we're seeing in the East now, where 7 through 10, it's legitimately close. But then you see on the other side, Rob, like you mentioned, Sacramento Kings and Dallas Mavericks should have no business being in the playoffs.
They're 8 games out of the
it's like that's egregious.
And they're under
first
500.
Place.
Yes.
Like, I'm 8 games back at first. Like dang, or fourth or whatever.
Yeah,
it's like,
should we have Houston and Oklahoma duke it out to see who gets the first seed? Like, what is this? It's so stupid.
Hey, Cavs Celtics, let's run it. I'm down for that. I'm down for that. 100%. And I do believe there should be, under these circumstances of the West, there maybe needs to be some restrictions and rules in place for the play-in tournament. When this all first started back in the bubble, there were rules and restrictions, as you mentioned, Justin. I believe it was a certain amount of games back. Like if you weren't, 5, 6, 7 games back, if you were beyond that, you weren't going to be in that play-in portion. Now, everything was set up differently. That was kind of an experimental play-in. Back in the bubble, it was because that playing game, we didn't have because history on that, we didn't have a playing game out east because it was like the restrictions we're talking about. I believe the 8-9 was supposed to play each other. Like it was set up so differently. Like the 7-8 for the 7 seed and the 9-10 to play the loser of that game for the 8 seed. That was not set up. It was straight up like, the 8-9 seed just plays for the 8 seed. And out east, the 8 and 9 seed, they were too far apart to play each other in that circumstance. Yet Portland and Memphis, I believe Portland was actually the 9 seed, if I'm not mistaken. Memphis was the 8, and then they got over. And then Memphis got their get back the next season in the play-in tournament when they were the 9 seed. They knocked out Golden State, who was actually they were the 8 seed. Golden State was the 8 seed. That was the year that it really bit them. The first play-in year is when the NBA got bit because they missed out on a Golden State Utah series first round. I mean, that would have been at least Steph Curry makes the playoffs. At least you have some extra ratings for that game. Instead, it was Utah Memphis, which the league, that's just disastrous going from Utah Golden State with Curry to Utah Memphis without a developed Ja. I mean, Ja was not a star at that point in time. And that was a problem that year because the Warriors, they were nearly the 7 seed. The Warriors barely lost the 7-seeded game. The Clippers and the Pelicans a couple years ago. The Clippers barely lost that game to the Timberwolves where Patrick Beverly is up on the table, and we all know that moment. Clippers, they lose that game barely. They don't even make the playoffs because they lose against the Pelicans. And the Pelicans, I believe, faced the Suns. That was in 2022. But yeah, the play-in, you need some kind of restriction on it to where if the 9, specifically with the 9 or 10 seed, I don't have any problem with the 7 or 8 playing for the the 7 and the 8 and maybe even the 9 is sitting there waiting to play. The 9 and 10, if they're 8 games back like they are now, or if not more, that's a little much for me. That's a little much. But the NBA, I'll add this on. They're never going to get rid of it because it's an extra game of revenue. And why would you get rid? The NBA and NFL are about adding games. Even though people are talking about subtracting, it would be better for the leagues. No, because you're basically saying, it's like somebody who makes $100,000 a year. It's like, I make $100,000, and it's like, yeah, I'll just make 90,000. Yeah, sure, that'll be fine. But I'll just reduce my salary right here by not going to work the extra however many weeks. It's like, why would anybody do that? Nobody.
One more thing on this in-season tournament, and I want to say I said it on the play-in, on the play-in. One thing I want to say on the play-in tournament, I said it on the all these tournaments. It's like
NBA Cup. I'm glad they named it NBA Cup because now it's like play-in,
NBA
season,
Cup,
in tournament, in tournament.
I don't even want to talk about the NBA Cup. Come on.
Yeah, it's just like so. This is like the
at this point of the year, the NBA Cup is so like you realize
they
how
are
stupid
trying
it is,
so hard to match the March Madness like module, right? Like the outline. Single elimination. Oh my God, win or go home, right? But it's like what makes March Madness so special is it's win or go home. The next game too. And the next game after that, it's win or go home. It's not win or go home to see what team's going to get beat up on by the 2 or 1 seed, right? It's like, look at East, you have the Cavs who are a 64 win team. You have the Celtics who are a 61 win team. In the West, you got the Thunder who are whoever is probably going to get their butts handed to them, right? They're asses kicked like by the Thunder. Like they're probably. So it's just very frustrating because I look at it and they're trying to like do this whole like win or go home. It's like this big, like, one game decides it all, but it's like, no, one game decides who loses in the first round, essentially. Unless, I guess you have the Heat that one year and the Lakers that one year, but I just
win
think
and
it's
go
the
home
dumbest
later.
thing.
I think
win and go that. Yes.
Win and go home later than the team you just beat.
Yes,
2 weeks later.
It really infuriates me, and I'm gonna watch it. Right, I'm gonna watch it. I'm gonna turn it on, and I'm gonna be severely disappointed with what I watch, and think to myself, why did I just waste 2 hours of my life watching this? And the NBA is gonna get revenue from it. So that's my rant.
I'm excited for Tuesday. I don't know who to root for. I'm gonna be overstimulated. I don't know.
You know what the plan? They did a great job of emulating March Madness from this standpoint. I will say, the first 4. That's what the play-in tournament is. It's the first 4. The first 4 of March Madness. 2 11 seeds, 2 sets of 11 seeds face off, and 2 sets of 16 seeds, and you're going, what? Why am I watching 2 16 seeds?
Like no one watches those games,
Duke,
right? Like does anybody really watch the first 4 games?
I don't.
What, you don't like watching LIU Brooklyn versus St. Francis?
No, like some people do, but like for me, I just like scroll and like wait for my bracket to load in those teams. So I'm like, okay, I can pick the other one. Like like a lot of it's like a lot.
I'll
of
say though,
the same idea.
BCU 2010, 2011, one of those 2 years. BCU first 4 to the Final 4, so you can't count out the 11 seeds always. Last year, NC State, they weren't first 4, but 11 seed DJ Burns. But I'll say this too about the not the in-season play-in tournament. Geez, now we're way off the in-season play-in, but the play-in tournament. All right, that the tournament. They also, outside of the single elimination of March Madness, they're trying to implement. Now, this was more for the NBA Cup, but the NBA, I can tell, just takes it from everywhere. Is try to take everything from soccer. It's like, soccer does this. There's these little tournaments everywhere, and these single eliminations, and obviously there's some. I think the NBA, they follow soccer a lot of places. They also follow some football as well. I would say, football playoffs, those are single elimination. But the NBA has looked at the soccer world and it's like, oh, soccer is so popular. It's like the thing is the NBA, and this just is a general concept with the NBA, they correlate things within success that simply are not linked. The NBA does that all the time. They look at soccer and go, oh, well, soccer, they're popular because they have all these different cups and these tournaments. And it's like, yeah, maybe we can boost our popularity because soccer does this. And this is interesting in soccer. But it's like soccer is popular all over the world because you literally can just start kicking around anything on the ground by yourself. It's like, oh, there's a cup on the ground. Cool, I'll just kick it over here. Oh, there's a little space on the floor. Like, let me kick that cup through that space. Like, oh, you're playing soccer now. It's like that is partially what makes soccer so popular. It's like it's how easily accessible it is to just play the sport. And it's globally popular from that alone. That alone. And it's not something with the Premier League just has all these cups and tournaments and La Liga has all these cups. It's like those are that's the thing. Those are traditions in soccer. Those are traditions for that sport. The NBA, it's like that's the thing that the NBA just misses. It's like the NBA, they can't find their lane within traditions. Like what should be the same year after year, time after time. This is how it rolls. It's like the NBA cannot figure it out. It's like, it's like what the NBA tradition's like, oh, cool. We have the All-Star break and we all complain about how bad it is. It's like, we all complain. It's like, what an NBA tradition that is. It's like the NBA Cup. They're trying to make that into a tradition. Christmas, the finals, all these things. But through and through, it's like the NBA, they're trying to find their identity within within tradition, even though that's kind of what makes leagues popular. It's that tradition that what makes sports popular. It's that tradition that comes along with the expectation of what's going to happen. The NBA, they have a problem of the tradition they have set up. They always want to change something around because it's not working. It's like, it's not working when you start the season in October and the first 2 months of the season, nobody's even watching because they're all watching football. And then you start on Christmas and that's a singular day. But then when everybody's done with football, it's like, the All-Star break comes about and everybody's like, that is the first moment. It's like, the NBA, it's in the spotlight. Everybody's complaining about it. Literally every single person is complaining about it. And then you just go down the line. It's like the aesthetic. I mean, Justin, I'm sure we could have an hour conversation on this alone, but just some of the aesthetic in the NBA. It's like when I watch a Lakers Warriors game, I want to see Lakers yellow, Warriors blue, or Warriors white, or whatever. I don't want to see Lakers crazy purple and faded into black, and I don't want to see the Warriors wearing orange and yellow and dark blue. It's like, what are we doing? Like there are too many games. The other night, perfect example, Memphis versus Minnesota, perfect uniform matchup a couple of years ago, and in that game, it's like, oh no, Memphis red, Minnesota dark gray and lime green on a blue court, and it's like. Part of the aesthetic matters too. It's like the NBA, they're trying to sell jerseys, they change all this up. It's like, let's with Nike, we're with Nike, let's change this up. Let's be a little bit more hip.
It's all about
and it's like it's like no, it's tradition. But that's the thing, is like I kind of applaud the NBA from a certain standpoint of the traditional aspect. Like I think the NBA is like does sort of recognize that from the standpoint of they're trying to make the NBA Cup a tradition. They're trying to make the NBA play-in tournament a tradition. But these things taken from other sports, it's like they're not just going to become instant. Like I don't see the NBA Cup or NBA play-in tournament just because they take concepts from March Madness or soccer over to the NBA. I don't think that's linked to now viewership is more. They're more they somehow now. All of a sudden, the NBA has more success and ratings because they they extracted all these different items from these different sports and leagues across the globe. This is what made them successful. It's like, no, all the tradition within all these sports made them successful. It wasn't the cups and the tournaments, and like that has something to do with it from that tradition. But it's like that's their tradition. That's soccer's tradition. That's March Madness's tradition. It's not the NBA tradition, and we've already had that conversation back in December as well, where it's like March Madness is what it is because of the talent and because of the field and the schools and the setup. It's like the NBA just doesn't have that. So when they try to take the tournament aspect out of March Madness, they're not going to find success with it because they don't have all the other elements that make it the tradition in which it is. And that's just plain and simple for the NBA. And again, I applaud them for trying to make these things traditions, but they're just not big staples. Like you get to this point in the season, you realize how stupid the NBA Cup is. Like, oh, cool, different courts in November. And the Celtics, like the Celtics and the Cavs, they didn't make the NBA Cup tournament. It's like, look at their records.
When they
didn't
should
make
do
the
it,
NBA Cup tournament.
in January. They should do it in January, Seamus.
Yeah.
That's what they should do the NBA. The NBA.
No, they try to
tournament.
do it in November because it's like, oh, football's taking over and nobody cares about the beginning of the season. It's like, oh, look at these pretty colors
allow
on the
that to
court. And
happen.
somebody could hold up a trophy. And it's like, oh, does anybody respect the Milwaukee Bucks anymore right now because they won the NBA Cup over the Thunder? Like in the moment, it was like, oh, they beat the Thunder. And then you're like, this game doesn't count.
It's like, well, and I think if you're going to keep the in-season tournament fun, in my opinion, put it in the middle of the season, beginning of the season. In my opinion, I'm somewhat invested in the beginning of the season. I know Rob certainly invested the first 25 games of the regular season, and that's between October and November because you're trying to see, okay, yes, it is early, but what do we have here? And then when you get past that point, and you're past Christmas and you're starting to kind of get towards the All-Star break, in my opinion, between Christmas and the All-Star break is the most boring time of the regular season. And I'm not just saying that because that was the point in which we struggled during the regular season. Every single year, a game in January, a game in beginning mid-February, just it doesn't have any sort of significance whatsoever. It's just very blech. Like, it's just very blech. Like, Toronto versus Boston. Celtics lose by 13. Like, what a terrible, horrible game at such a horrible point of the season. It's like, oh, at least if we lost that game in February and, now we have the in-season tournament locked back in. We have the Cavs in-season tournament. That gives you some excitement in the middle of the season. Start calling it the mid-season. Call it the mid-season tournament instead of the in-season tournament because you're in the middle of the season. It's ridiculous. And, I made this joke on the show when, during our special a few months ago on the in-season tournament about the tournaments going on. I'm like, don't be surprised if one day we look up and we see 4 teams playing for the number 1 pick in the draft in a tournament. Like,
no, that's real.
As crazy as it sounds, like that's something that the NBA is like, sounds like something that they that's a good idea. I think we should try that out. All right, let's do it. Let's not plan it. Let's just do it. Let's see how it goes. And it flopped horrendously and our ratings are now worse. So I don't know what's going to fix it.
Well, I just had a point on this as well with just, it's like, okay, this was the point. I just made the schedule up in my head. Now I'm sure other people have, I don't know. Okay, Justin, you're just frozen for like a half second with like a great juice thing in your hand. But just giving a moment of silence for the chugs. For the chugs. Now that's our tournament on here. We're doing a chugging tournament. We're doing a chugging tournament. But the scheduling, okay? The scheduling. So people have probably had this idea, but come on, it should be almost universal. The NBA would probably benefit from shortening their season about 10 games. The last 10 games of the regular season are always a complete joke. This year, it was no different. And, what matters, like, somebody, we've played 72 games in the past, whether it was the COVID season, 2021, and obviously those are bad for the league. It's like, oh my gosh, we're missing 40+ games of revenue. But even in the distant past, the NBA has played 72 games. You see that on some of the game logs from players way back when. And the NBA is never going to do that because of how much revenue they miss up front. But it would benefit them to maybe shorten the season by 10 games because it doesn't matter. Like right now, the last game of the season, however the West is shaping up as we speak, it's like, does it, a week ago, would it have mattered? Like, they're game 72 versus game 82. It's like, why do you need 10 more games to shift around from 4 to 8?
Then wouldn't it just be game 62 to game 72? Wouldn't that just be like,
it doesn't change anything. It just, I think it was just,
well, no, that's not the whole point here. The reason you need to shorten the schedule is you don't start in October if you're the NBA.
Oh, right.
October is like, that is the middle of football season.
Right.
And so
that's
essentially,
that's a great point.
Simmons
has made this point too.
Right. And I'm actually, I like having more games, I will say, but I can't deny it's like, sometimes it does, like 82, it does feel like it's like, oh, we're stretching right now. Like it feels like when we're in the 60s, it's like, oh, we are really into the season right now. Like we're nearing the end of the season and you still have 20 more games to go. But I was saying you start the season on Christmas and go to July, go to August and July are wide open because I'm sorry.
That's Summer League.
No.
No. You could do Summer League in August. Why not?
We're not doing Fall League.
Because for real, like baseball,
All leagues got a ring
baseball
to
has
it. Fall leagues got a
fallen
ring to it.
off
Fall
in
ball?
America. Baseball has fallen off. Baseball does not rule the months of July and August. Like that's the stupid part about the NBA is they're trying to compete with football in October, November, December, and it's like, and you only play, a week in October basically if you're the NBA. And it's like, why not move those 2 months and go July, August? Because you're competing with baseball and not football. Like everybody is attuned with football. Every Sunday it's like football, football, and the content too in the middle of the week. Football, football, fantasy football, all of it. There's so many aspects of football. But baseball, it's like baseball is like during the day, it rolls along. Like I'm like when the NBA finals, like this is what I see too. When the playoffs were pushed back into May, June, July, not so much August, but July, back in 2021, it worked. It worked. Like 2021, the finals, they were in July. And it's like, did it really feel any different from June? It's like, not really. Didn't really feel much different. And what was great about that season, the Celtics went out in the first round, but it still felt like we were going out at the same part of the year because we went out in May. It was like the last game.
That's actually a really good point. That's a really good point. I didn't even think of that.
But it's like the schedule from that standpoint, like it only seemed logical to me to take 2 months over here, like, November, December primarily, and just flip them over to July and August.
Yeah,
because after that, it's like you still have the necessary months. Like, you're still going to have September, October, November for all the off season. Not like even August and September for like the off, like, like the start of August, like before football, attack the off season and then attack, the draft would be in August. So you'd have free agency in August. But then summer league, you could say late August. And I know it's like, it's summer stuff, whatever. But yeah, I it's weird because you look at that and go, that would probably benefit the league. Just
well, here's
10
the problem
times
with this.
What they
Here's
have
the
right
problem.
now
Is the players agreeing to it. So I got two things, right? One, don't disrespect baseball. I want no baseball slander.
Yeah, no baseball.
No baseball slander.
Yeah.
Come on,
I'm
man.
gonna slander baseball right now because I got a baseball cap on, and we just set a record for the lowest attendance in a game at Busch Stadium. I believe it was like 14,000 people. It was like, what is going on?
She lose a friggin' series to the White Sox, Seamus.
That's
all right now, though. I think we're winning right now.
We just
At
won.
least you guys can get fans to come to the games because you can sign Alex Bregman and actually build a baseball team. My baseball team, they're not bringing it. They're not getting anybody. They're not building a team to bring anybody to the actual ballpark. It's pretty sad.
So that's my first point. Is baseball? I'm loving baseball right now. Second point is it makes so much, like, it literally makes so much sense. Everything you said makes, like, it would be perfect for the league. The Players Association would never agree to it because they love their summers, and the idea to them that their off season is the summer and they get to go, to the nice warm weathers and get their summer off. It would physically be impossible to get the Players Association to agree to that because of how much they love their summers, which is, I think, is a part of the reason why they hated the bubble so much, was because they had to go make that commitment in the summer, and it felt like to them they had lost their time off. So
the bubble, looking back, like, seriously, these guys who complain about the bubble, I'm like, they are just the softest players of all time. I have no sympathy for any of it. I really don't. Yeah, you know what? I will say, being away from your family that long, that's certainly tough. But it's like, they're away from their families this long while they're playing beach volleyball at a resort with all their teammates
in the safest location in America.
Like, everything about, like, you have to play basketball every night. And you make what, 13 million a year? It's like, I just sometimes, like, I can't believe the complaining. It's like the Clippers, like, we thought this title wouldn't really mean anything, so we just stopped trying. And the bubble,
Charlotte,
like, we're done with it. It's like, what?
I'll try my hardest.
I look back. I watch bubble highlights religiously. It's an unfortunate situation in the world at which we were in the bubble and why we had the circumstances of why we had to play the season out the way that we had to play it out, but like,
it was some damn good
again,
basketball.
nostalgic. Like, it was some good hoops. Like,
Yeah,
there
it
was some
was.
like trash talking. It's like, I'm room 206. Let's go. Like follow me back to my room, man.
When
Like,
Westbrook's talking trash and the camera pans to just like a wife
kid,
in their
Rondo.
baby. Yeah.
It's like Rondo's son or whatever, whatever it is.
It's like,
But,
thanks for the reminder. Families were there. Families
Yeah.
were there at a later point in
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
I
it's
agree.
just like, it was such a great, like,
It
like
was.
those series, like that Toronto series is like one of like the greatest series I could remember in like recent Celtic playoff. Like, that was just such a fun series. Obviously, you wish you beat Miami in that, but I mean, that Celtics Heat is always entertaining, and I really had a good time watching the bubble. But that's a good point, and that's a good point, Rob, about the whole. I think it's a great idea, but I don't think the players do, because the summers for them are like their golden days. Like,
Right, exactly.
they in the workouts that they put on in the summer, in the beaches, in the clubs, like, that is a very important part in their personal lives, is the fact that they get the summer off. But Seamus, you do make some really good points, some very valid points, I might say, not just good, but valid points at why the NBA could see a shift. I wonder, has there ever been a year or a season or multiple seasons at which the NBA was from Christmas Day to August, other than a lockout year or a COVID year? Has the schedule always been October to June?
I mean, I was gonna say, taking out lockout and COVID, I don't think we've ever had. I don't think we've ever had just straight up start on Christmas and go. I mean, maybe a long time ago, but then that's like getting into irrelevant times where it's like the entire population and culture of America was different. It's like, oh, the teams were taking buses to games.
Dude, you can't say irrelevant times when, like, what are your irrelevant times? Please don't list the 8 straight years that we won finals. Please.
No, I was talking more about the 5 years when the Minneapolis Lakers won their title.
There it is. Yeah, not as the Los Angeles Lakers. Not as the LA Lakers.
No,
LA
it is.
Lakers
It's
have
18 to 12, guys. It's 18 to 12.
18
all right,
to 12. Stop the.
It's hilarious that Lakers fans will sit here and be like, "You guys won 11 titles during a time period that's just so relevant to today," and it's like,
you won 5.
You guys won 5 before that. Like what? Like in a different city. It's like, imagine it's like, oh no, the St. Louis Celtics, and now they're in Boston. I mean, for me that'd be great. I would claim, I'm sure, because I'm here. But it's like, oh, the South Dakota Celtics, are they the same as Boston? It's like, I don't think so.
Not at all. So I do want to pivot here, and I want to talk about Jaylen Brown. Because there were some updates with, he got some injections into that knee, and it's a little bit more circulating that this might not be that original bone bruise, right? Some people, and it's a speculation. People are speculating that it might be something else. These injections, I'm no doctor. I was reading about it. A doctor did provide us this information, or provided me the information. These are usually good for 2 to 3 weeks, these injections, right? They usually take the pain away for that period amount of time. Now, guys, anytime you talk about a knee in a basketball player, it's a scary conversation, because the knee is a vital part to how they play. We have yes, you cannot function without your knees. We've seen this story before, unless you're John Elway. With Robert Williams, you've seen it before. These knees are tricky. We've seen it with Kevin Garnett. Where are we at with Jaylen Brown right now? We talked about the concern meter just the other post-game show. Justin, I'd love to hear from you, because I don't think I've talked. We talked a little bit about the injury, and you told me a little bit what your thoughts on Jaylen playing. What's your concern like right now?
I don't know what my concern's like right now. I similar to how Seamus is flipping between whether we want to play the Atlanta Hawks or not, I'm flipping between, is Jaylen Brown, what he's been doing, is that good for him or not? I agree with Missoula in terms of, Missoula was saying Jaylen knows him. He knows his body more than anybody else. He knows what he's capable of, what he's not capable of. He knows if he's feeling good, he's not feeling good. I agree from that standpoint. And then I read a tweet earlier today. I forget who tweeted it, but it was like, Jaylen Brown he wanted to see if the rest would work. The rest didn't help his knee. So then he thought playing would, just playing, and then playing aggravated it. And then now he's getting like, this thing is all over the place. And it's like, of course, you're starting to play really good basketball, and Jaylen Brown goes down with this knee injury, and it's a big thing. And I'm not sure. My girlfriend's a nurse, my sister's a nurse, my aunt's a nurse, my cousin's a nurse, and I still can't figure out what the hell an injection is going to do to cure a bone bruise. I don't know, I don't know how that works. I don't know if that's just instead of taking painkillers down the guzzle or just injecting painkillers near the inflamed area. I don't know what implications are there, but it sounds like Jaylen Brown's going to be good to go for the start of the playoffs. My thing is I'll have to see. I got to see it. I have to see what he looks like. He's looked severely uncomfortable. I will leave it at that. These past few games that he's been able to play in, he's looked severely uncomfortable. I was irate. I was so irate. Rob, I even texted you this. I was pissed when he was playing. I don't know if it was the game before the Orlando game. I forget who it was, but
it was the New York game.
The New York game, was it?
It was he played 4 straight games. It was Miami, Phoenix, Washington, New York.
I forget. I honestly forget. Like, I was just so upset that he was playing at night. And then there was another game where everybody was listed as out on the injury report. I think it was the Orlando game, actually.
Yeah,
and Jaylen Brown was listed as questionable. And I was like, are you kidding me? All these guys don't even have real injuries. Jaylen Brown has the real injury, and he's the one that has the chance to play tonight. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? And then finally, just before tip, he was downgraded to out, but I was so livid. I was like, I texted Rob. I was like, I can't believe they're even giving him a chance to play in this game. Like, these guys don't even have real injuries, and he's the one that's playing with the injury. I'm uncomfortable with this whole Jaylen Brown situation. I don't think it's going to put a dent in our chances at being title contenders, because I do think we still have a great supporting team, a great supporting cast. But obviously, it definitely would be nice to see Jaylen Brown suit up for the Celtics in the postseason. I think he'll be good to go. I think this is one of those things before playoffs. It's like you're rolling in, you're all happy, you're happy, and something just has to come. You're driving down the highway, having the best day ever, and you see some stupid billboard that just ruins your day. That Jaylen Brown getting knee injections is that stupid billboard that just ruined all your mood going into the postseason. So it's up to Jaylen Brown. We'll see. We'll see how he feels. We'll see how he looks. To me, he hasn't looked comfortable for a few weeks now. And, getting these days of rest, I think it's more rest isn't going to help it. But I think the less chance that you have to bump that knee and land on that knee, and even running, if it inflames it more, if that slims it down, the pain tolerance just that little bit, and that helps it heal just that little bit, we'll take it going into the first round against either Orlando or Atlanta.
Yeah. It's not something that, like we've been saying, it's not something that rest is going to cure. It's just how comfortable he's going to and how well he's going to adapt his game to the injury. He's obviously not going to be able to be as physical, as athletic, and it might be a little bit timid to attack the rim when it comes down to possessions like that, rebounding, getting himself into tricky situations on loose ball on the floor. So those are all situations where you don't want to see something go wrong, and you also don't want to see him out there in a series. Like a example is a few years back when Malcolm Brogdon was dealing with that injury. He was out there still playing, but it was not the same player whatsoever. And sometimes injuries will have that effect on a player, that it gets to a point where every time he takes a step down the court, he feels it. Sure, he can play through it, but it's still in the back of his head that it's going to be there, and some plays might not be as flowing. And I just hope that we get to see as close to 100% of Jaylen Brown. Obviously, it's going to come down to a mentality thing of how much this injury is going to hinder him, if he's going to allow this injury to really get to him. And he's going to be missing a couple of shots, maybe a little bit slow on the defensive end because that injury's there. So if that's the case, it's I would like to say that in round one, if this was an injury that the Celtics should have been worried about, I would say that I would take the Celtics in a round one without Jaylen Brown if they decided to do the thing that they did with Kristaps Porzingis last year, sit him throughout the first round and have him back in focus for round two. But it's obviously two different injuries, and the rest isn't going to help him out. So just keeping him out there and keeping him within the just trying to get him back to his original self, the Eastern Conference Finals, the MVP final, the Finals MVP, Jaylen Brown, who the Celtics should be able to rely on in these games. But this year, I feel like that weight is going to be a lot more focused on Tatum when it comes down to that. But it doesn't undermine Tatum or Jaylen Brown's importance to this team. It just means that his role might be a little lesser than what we saw in last year's run.
I'm about to tee off on this topic because a little while ago I was saying, well, there could be injections, there could be the fluid draining from his knee, but we don't hear about those things anymore. Except, I guess we do, because we just heard about an injection in Jaylen Brown's knee. Now, for the past couple of weeks, clearly something is awry with Jaylen Brown, and I think this is one of the biggest stories in Celtics Nation right now that kind of sweep it under the. I mean, we're not really sweeping it under the rug because we're openly talking about it right now up in front of everybody. But outside of the entire, outside of this broadcast here, the entire fan base, it's like, yeah, we have a really good vibe going into the playoffs. Team just reached 60 wins, 61-21 to finish the season. The team's hot going into the playoffs. And yet, this Jaylen Brown injury, it has the potential to wipe all of that away. All of it. Absolutely all of it. We're talking about the second best player on the Boston Celtics right now, who 100% needs to be healthy later on in the playoffs in order for the Celtics to really go back-to-back. Now, could the Celtics theoretically win back-to-back titles without Jaylen Brown? Sure, but it's not going to be an easy road in doing that if you don't have your second best player who makes a lot more impact on the floor than people give him credit for, because like I've said multiple times, been talking about everybody else this year. Derek White, Drew Holiday, Al Horford, the rest of the stars, Kristaps Porzingis, and Jason Tatum, how good he's been. We've talked about Jason Tatum so much this season because of how awesome Jason Tatum's been within his MVP campaign that we do forget a lot about Jaylen Brown and what he's able to do on the floor for the Celtics. But just recently, I mean, I brought up the alarming stats on Postgame the other night, and I'll bring them up yet again. Leading up to the Miami game, Jaylen Brown played 8 of the Celtics' last 10 games. So the Miami game, not talking about the Miami game at the TD Garden, but the Miami game at Miami a couple of weeks ago. So that was what? It was what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. About 16 games ago, okay? So 16 games ago, leading into that game, Jaylen Brown had played 8 of the last 10 games for the Celtics. Missed 2 within those games, but played 8. In those 8 games, Jaylen Brown played 30 minutes or more in every single game, in all 8 of those games, all right? Since that point, Jaylen Brown has missed 8 of the last 16 games. 8 of the last 16. So half the games since that Miami game, including that Miami game, Jaylen Brown has straight up missed 8 of 16. And in the 8 games in which Jaylen Brown played, he did not reach the 30-minute mark. Not once. Not once. And that's a little concerning. The last time Jaylen Brown reached the 30-minute mark, he played 37-59, so basically 38 minutes, against the Oklahoma City Thunder. That is concerning. Those numbers are concerning. When you're looking at Jaylen Brown missing half of the last 16 games, not playing 30 minutes in any of those games, that's not good, especially when beforehand we have a clear, consistent track record of over 30 minutes, over 30 minutes, over 30 minutes, over 30 minutes. And then the last 8 games of his season, not over 30 minutes, and he misses half of the last 16 games. That's concerning. And I'll bring
Is
this
that
point up too.
management though? Is that management, do you think?
But at what point does that 16 games, that was a month ago.
Yeah,
Are we
that's
managing him?
true.
That's where
yeah,
I'm
no,
saying
that's
it's
fair.
like they could want now they did manage him. That's what I'm saying. It's like they were managing him through that stretch, but we've seen he's clearly gotten worse. I mean, the last 3 games he didn't play whatsoever. Orlando, Charlotte. Now I'm glad he didn't play the last 3 games because he didn't need to. But the games before that, when we came on here after the Knicks game, that was a concerning data point within the Jaylen Brown history because he played 21 minutes that night. And that game, the Celtics were completely out-rebounded by the Knicks. And part of it was because Jaylen Brown, a ball would actually come his way, and you'd expect, Jaylen Brown's going to go lunge out for that ball and athletically grab a rebound for the C's. Defensive rebounding. What did we see? It's like Jaylen Brown was hesitant in going to grab that ball. And that's part of why the Celtics didn't rebound well that night. Is they literally had one of their 5 guys who could not rebound the basketball on the floor. He was on the floor for 21-39. And what made that data point so concerning is down the stretch of that game, Holiday, Porzingis, Tatum, they all played major minutes in that contest. Major minutes in an overtime game. Joe Mazzulla pushed the throttle forward, especially with Porzingis and Holiday. And Tatum as well. Tatum, they're supposed to come as a tandem, Tatum and Brown. What Tatum does, Brown often does as well from a minutes perspective. And so that game, Brown sits out the last stretch of the game, crunch time, sits out overtime, only plays 21 minutes. Meanwhile, the rest of the starting rotation, they see 35 minutes or more. And that told me that night that Jaylen Brown wasn't healthy whatsoever. Not only his play on the floor, but how the Celtics were managing his minutes. And before that, I wonder here if this is what happened. We were talking about the 65 game threshold. Jaylen Brown now misses that by 2 games because he didn't play the last 2 games. I'm wondering if there was a push to get him over the 65 game mark because the 20 minutes played, after the Phoenix game where Jaylen Brown scored 31 points, played 28 minutes that night, he played 21 and 21 against Washington, against New York. Against Washington, Tatum didn't play that night. Porzingis didn't play that night. Still won by 34. Washington, they were no contest for the Celtics. Jaylen Brown didn't need to play that game. Yet he did in terms of his eligibility, right? Could only miss 1 more game the rest of the way. Plays 21 minutes. And then the next night in New York, plays 21 minutes there. And I felt like during those games, they're just trying to inch him over that 20-minute mark to get him to the qualified games played for that 65 game threshold. However, it got to a point where the Orlando game, the Charlotte game, the 2 Charlotte games, I should mention, was Jaylen Brown too hurt to play in those games? Did they give up? Did they go, you know what? We're done with this. Like, he's getting worse right now. That's the thing about what we were talking about a week ago with Jaylen Brown. It was after that Wizards game. Right. This can only get worse. When you're talking about somebody's knee, I don't know how rest, we were talking about his quote, it's like rest isn't going to make this any better. I don't understand how Jaylen Brown sees a world, or anybody sees a world, where his knee is clearly not healthy and rest won't do anything for it. That's how things get healthy. You have to rest them. No matter what body part it is, you have to rest. You're not going to be able to go out on a basketball floor and play NBA basketball at the highest level, the most intense level, and your knee, in which is already bothering you, the thing that contorts and bends, and there's so many ligaments and padding, the cartilage in your knee. There's no way that all that stuff cannot get worse if you're playing out there on the floor. I don't know how Jaylen Brown, like what the, Jaylen Brown and the medical staff and the team, like what was the plan down the stretch, but I feel like this entire situation was managed a little haphazardly by Jaylen Brown's minutes in the Knicks game and the Wizards game, because it felt like in those games, they're just trying to play him the necessary minutes to get him to his games mark. And then afterwards, they completely abandoned that plan because he's seriously not healthy, because he potentially got worse while playing out there on the basketball floor. I don't know if that's exactly how everything went down, but he's clearly, the games he played, clearly not the same player he was earlier in the season. And I'm just saying this, the last 3 games, we saw the starters the other night in Charlotte. That was another, or not in Charlotte, against Charlotte. That was another data point in the concerning history of Jaylen Brown, is you saw everybody play the other night against the Hornets. Now, that was mostly a bench squad game when the game started waning down in the second half. But you saw the starters in the first half, and Jaylen Brown was the lone guy, didn't play that game. So this whole thing right now, it's terrible to talk about because the Celtics, they're on a roll, they're hot, they're going into the playoffs exactly where you want them to be, and yet this Jaylen Brown injury 100% has the potential to wipe out everything good that's come within the Celtics season, at least the second half of the season, and what could come further on in the playoffs. This injury is horrible. It's absolutely horrible. And we're getting worse news from it. Missing 3 straight games, missing half of the last 16 games, the minutes, you can see him, and he's getting injections. I'm sorry, when I hear injections, like, have you guys seen the video of Antonio Brown on Snapchat getting injections and getting fluid drained out of his knee? I mentioned Antonio Brown. I'm just saying.
I hear AB
No,
and
seriously.
Snapchat, and my brain goes a little wild.
Yeah.
No, I'm okay. Antonio Brown years ago. This was when Antonio.
I do remember that. I do remember that.
When Antonio Brown was just like, you know what, I'm releasing everything on the NFL. I don't care. He released the video of himself getting knee treatments. And seriously, what was in that video? If you're like, oh, that's what they're talking about when they're getting fluid drained from their knee or getting injections. It's like, oh, like that. I can't believe, like, when looking at that video going, you're going to play on that thing?
Yeah.
You're going to go out there and actually perform in a professional sport after I just saw that? I mean, it's nasty. I mean, I wish we could pop it up on screen. Like, these things are always seen like, oh, injection, fine, quick, whatever. But it is like a serious, like, the amount of fluid that comes in and out of somebody's knee. It's like, that is not normal. Like, that is, if you see that, it's like, that is not something that is just, oh, yeah, whatever. Go. Same thing with all these surgeries. Like, guys have surgeries. Like, these kind of things are not normal. Like, the human body reminds you that it's very resilient, but something like that, it's like, this is, I mean, you can't say anything other than it is wildly concerning where Jaylen Brown is, especially now that we have no more games left. The next game, great that we have a week off. I'll say that right now. That's the silver lining in all this. Jaylen Brown's going to get himself a week off. I mean, really 2 weeks off, plus considering what he just missed in terms of games, because he played on that Monday against the Knicks. It might have been a Tuesday game, and then he won't play again until Sunday next week. But yeah, that's the only silver lining, because otherwise Celtics don't have any more games. The next game is game 1 of the NBA playoffs. We're covering game 82 right now, and we're still talking about this knee injury being of concern. That is, their alarm bells are going off. I'm not willing to say it's KG level yet, but it's not. I'm of the idea that the Celtics right now, I'm like, how does this get any better the next month if he's playing? And it's like they're probably going to have to go through an entire playoff run where you're getting like 75% of Jaylen Brown at best.
Right, 100%. And that's where I'm at, where it's like, okay, that's probably what we're dealing with. If he can give us defensively what he can give us and what we know he can give us, then I'm a little bit more like at ease with it. The thing that's scary to me is now, again, this team is constructed so that it really is, if one person goes down, it's like it's still, there's still a force to be reckoned with. However, the burden now falls on a Kristaps Porzingis, and KP has been playing some phenomenal basketball, but you're getting dicey now as KP being your number 2 scoring guy in a playoff series, because he could be down and he could miss time at any given moment.
We don't have time for
that's to me, exactly. That's to me is what's the concerning factor of this. Because again, if Brown's given us 30 minutes a game, he's out there, right? I mean, he just needs to contribute. If he's contributing defensively, whatever he gives us offensively will always just be a plus at times. But for me, that's where it gets dicey, is the KP. Can KP successfully put together a 3-game a playoff series of him being the number 2 guy? I mean, that's to be the second best player on a championship team. That's something, right? I mean, that means something. And if it's not going to be JB, this postseason run, it's going to have to be KP. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see, because again, that's all we can do. But I agree with you, Seamus. I do. I think the unfortunate reality with this injury is it's not going to get better. He's playing the most intense basketball he's played all year for the next 2 months now, hopefully, right? Like that's just the maybe this week of rest plus the injections leads for 85% of Brown for a month, right? But like the truth is that percentage of Jaylen Brown probably goes down almost every game. It probably goes from 84 to 80, to 85 to 83 to 82 to like, and eventually they're gonna have to manage it in the summer. So that's I think the concerning factor with Jaylen Brown. But let's take a look. We have some. I want to pull this one up right here. We have some fun, just like, you know, the season's over, so we got some statistics here. Seamus, I'm gonna pass the torch over to you now to you know what you're doing here.
I've been quiet over here, just waiting for the NBA season to be over so I can announce that the Western Conference standings are set.
You know, are those games over yet, by the way?
No, we're waiting on right now just the Warriors and Clippers who are within their final minute or final 2 minutes.
So who's winning that game?
That is a close game right now, which is.
So do we not have we don't have okay, the Warriors are gonna pull this out, or
no, we don't know who's gonna win that game yet. So
all right, that's
on the standings.
Yeah, that one's a big game when it comes to it's a 2-point game with 1:18 left, I'm seeing on my end. But here you go. The Celtics in 2018-19, we expected the 2018-19 Celtics to be the Celtics of today, because thought coming into 2018-19 that team's going to have a lead a lot. They're not going to be in too much of a deficit, and then that team won 48 games. Well, half a decade later, the Celtics come around and they start doing exactly what we thought that 2018-19 team would do. 20-point leads this season, 39 of them, and that included today, because the Celtics at one point tonight had a 21-point lead against the Charlotte Hornets. As we saw, it was blown at a certain point, but the Celtics still won the game. 7 20-point deficits this season. I'm trying to think back to the beginning of the year. We started the year out real nicely, where the Celtics they were barely down in games to start the year. Obviously, it got a little dicey there in January, late December for the season, but only down 27 times this year out of 82 games. That's pretty impressive. In the last 2 years, only down 12 times. Only down 12 times in 106. I mean, that's pretty incredible. You're playing basically a baseball schedule of games, and the Celtics only trailed by 12 times. Meanwhile, nearly half of those games, the Celtics had a 20-point lead in. So the Celtics, this is just a pure stat of domination. Now, we have more from Sean Grandy here. And Sean Grandy, I mean, he's the stats guy when it comes to Celtics Twitter. There's some other stat guys out there, but Sean Grandy, I mean, play-by-play. It's like the game goes to commercial. I'm convinced Sean Grandy, he just pulls a file cabinet out of the bottom of the desk at the TD Garden, and he just puts it on Twitter. But here we go, the 24-25 Boston Celtics. You just kind of see the wrap-up here. So 61 wins on the season. 5th best in franchise history scoring margin. Now, you'd think that record, I mean, that's a record for a good team. I'll note that. But you'd have to think that also had to do with a lot of the scoring in today's NBA. So both of those things going hand in hand, the Celtics being good and then the NBA pace and volume. But points per possession, 4th best offense in NBA history, again, kind of goes along with the theme of not the Celtics, but the entire NBA being more offensively. There's more of an optimization for efficiency on the offensive end of the floor. Teams are scoring more than ever, pushing the pace more than ever. Most in NBA history made threes. Road wins, 2nd most in NBA history. We talked about that a couple of games ago. Could have been first, could have been tied with the Warriors if they won that Magic game, but 76 points, that's just not going to do it. Scoring margin on the road, 3rd best in NBA history. Won 17 of 18 on the road, 8th time in NBA history that happened. 19-2 following a loss this year. That was a stat earlier this season but during the Celtic struggles, we looked at that stat and went, this team's still pretty good. I mean, it means in the playoffs, you don't want to lose a game one. If you're just going back and forth, you don't want to lose a game one. If you're the Celtics, because you're going to win game 2, you're going to win game 4. If you lose game 3, it's gonna add up in a negative manner for the Celtics. But that means something for the playoffs, because you're just not able to beat the Celtics twice in a row. That's just the problem for teams. Teams are just not able to beat the Celtics twice in a row. It happened twice all season. I'm trying to think of the two games. I believe it would have been that Orlando Philly 2-game stretch where they lost in Orlando on December 23rd, and then they lost against the Sixers on Christmas. And then the other one was just after All-Star break, the Celtics lost in Detroit and then lost a game against Cleveland at home in which they were up 25-3 and to start. So those are the only two occasions the Celtics lost 2 in a row this year. Can't beat them twice. 960 turnovers, fewest in franchise history. That's something that's not talked about a lot with this Celtics team, but they don't turn the ball over very often. 14-1 in March, fourth best month in franchise history. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess you just don't lose that game against the Oklahoma City Thunder in March, and you're the best in franchise history. If you're the C's, defeated 28 of the 29 other teams. Oklahoma City was the only team to sweep the Celtics in their series this year, a little 2-game series. So maybe finals, maybe the Celtics will make that up later on in time. Clinched playoff spot 1 month before the end of the season. Longest losing streak was 2 games, as we just mentioned. More 30-point leads than 15-point deficits. That's insane. More 20-point leads than 8-point deficits. 8 points, that's 4 buckets. That's 3 buckets. That's 2 threes and a 2. The Celtics had more 20-point leads than 8-point deficits. 12 25-point wins, 8 30-point wins, 17 22-point wins, 0 22-point losses. I mean, 22. I mean, there you go. 1,451 opponent free throw attempts, fewest in NBA history. So the Celtics, again, something we don't talk about. The Celtics don't turn the ball over and they don't foul at a high rate. And everything you see on this list indicates the Celtics team, historic. With all the struggles the Celtics had earlier this year in January, all of these stats turned out to conclude the Celtics as a historic basketball team. And look how many spots in NBA history the Celtics own on this list. A lot of it is, you're picking stats out of the air, but it's true when you have a team like the Celtics playing in this era. Oh, Warriors. I'm hearing Warriors Clippers going to overtime.
Yep.
Loser falls to the play-in tournament. So I have an early play-in tournament scenario with the Warriors and Clippers right now. But talking more on the Celtics, we do have this. Boston's 61 regular season wins are the most by a reigning champion since the 73-win Warriors in 2015-16. And that seems pretty fitting considering the Warriors are a team we compare the Celtics team to a lot. And I believe that should be, oh no, we have a couple more here. Waka Flocka in the building tonight. In the building, in the TD Garden. Kind of not a consistent Celtic scorer, but we've seen him quite a few times at the Garden. Always nice to see celebrities pop out game 82. And then this is just the playoff picture. We showed this the last post game. Could have showed it earlier, but yeah, the Eastern Conference playoff picture is set 1 through 10. And you see, we talked about it. The Celtics, good draw. Knicks, Pistons, Magic, Hawks. That's going to be the first slot of that first part of the bracket for the Celtics going into the conference finals. And you would definitely say that the Knicks and Pistons, I would say the Knicks, Pistons, Magic, and Hawks, that's a little bit better of a draw than the Cavaliers. Obviously, the Cavaliers are number 1, but the Pacers and Bucks. The Pacers and Bucks have been playing well lately, particularly the Pacers and the Knicks. They've kind of, you look at the Knicks and the Pacers. The Knicks had that firm grip on the 3 seed for most of the year over the Pacers. The Pacers were 4, 5, 6. It was Pacers, Bucks, Pistons in that order. And the Knicks, they were clearly the number 3 seed. But you saw at the end of the year, the Pacers challenged the Knicks for that 3 seed. It kind of indicates the Knicks were going one way and the Pacers were going the other way. And yet the Celtics, they had the Knicks and Pistons. And I don't believe Justin is not with us right now, is he not? Let me just check the screen. Yeah, Justin's not with us right now, but I'll say this about the Pistons, unfortunately. The Detroit Pistons are overrated. They're completely overrated. Okay. I hate that I didn't get to say that with Justin on the program, but they are. They're 500 in their last, basically 500 in their last 20 games. They're 500 in their last 10 games. And everybody went crazy on them because they went 10-1 in a month stretch where they beat Philadelphia, Charlotte, San Antonio, Chicago, a bunch of play-in to lottery teams. They beat the Celtics in that stretch, I will say. The Celtics and the Clippers were the only 2 playoff. Now, We don't know. The Clippers might be a play-in team. Who knows at this point in time? So you could have more play-in teams, but I believe the numbers were you had 2 playoff teams, you had two or three play-in teams, and then I think you had 5 lottery teams within that stretch. Everybody went crazy on the Pistons because of that 10-1 stretch, that 8-game winning streak. But a lot of that streak was nothing teams, and then after that, the Pistons, where they were playing more 500 ball. So I'm snuffing out the Pistons because Robbie said it the other night. It's like, are the Pistons, are they for real? Or are they just kind of that new shining object that everybody wants to annoy? That's really what it feels like when it comes to the Pistons for me, is that they had 14 wins last year. They're at the 6th seed now. People want to anoint them as that dangerous squad, but I'm just going to say this. They're only dangerous for the Knicks. I think they're dangerous against the Knicks, but
I don't even think they're
else,
dangerous against the Knicks. I think they take them in 5
I don't
or
know.
6.
I mean,
See, we need Justin back in this program right now because this would be the ultimate conversation. I mean, earlier he mentioned he's like taking the Knicks out in 6, and then we're sitting here going, it's like Towns, like Brunson, like
I don't know.
defenders. Like the thing about the Pistons, like they have a like all right squad, but it's like if you really look at their squads, like all the veterans, they fit well on the Pistons because they brought them from 14 wins to a competitive state. That was the whole goal. It's bring veterans around the young guys, mesh them together, bring the young guys along, have the veterans contribute for what they are, and create a competitive team. It wasn't to actually compete with the best of the East. It was just to be competitive in that play-in range. Could you grab a playoff spot if you're the Pistons? They obviously did this season. But those veterans like Tobias Harris, the Sixers didn't want Tobias Harris. Malik Beasley, it's like, oh, the Bucks didn't want Malik Beasley. Tim Hardaway Jr., the Mavericks didn't want Tim Hardaway Jr. So you have all these contending teams, and these pieces didn't fit for one reason or another. And now they're on this Pistons team, and it felt like the Pistons, not to be, I don't want to disrespect these guys too much because they're NBA players at the end of the day. They're ultra talented. But it's like the Pistons kind of picked up everybody's scraps. And it's like in a playoff series when you really go head to head with a built team like the Knicks or a built team like the Celtics, where it was calculated, methodical. We're trying to get these matchups, these players on our roster. I think that's going to come to fruition more so in a 7-game series than it does on a night-to-night basis in the regular season, especially at the end when half the league, I went on a rant about it last post game. I don't want to go on another rant, but half the league is tanking. And I thought the NBA a couple years ago went, oh no, we're getting rid of resting. We're getting rid of tanking. Yet that's all we've seen from teams like the Hornets, from teams like the Sixers, from teams like the Wizards, from teams like the Pelicans, from teams like the Jazz. Utterly atrocious this year. The Raptors. Brandon Ingram had a sprained ankle back in February, missed the rest of the season. Like, are we kidding ourselves? Like, are we actually kidding ourselves right now? It's ridiculous. But another point for another day. Knicks, Pistons. I'm not afraid of either of those teams. If I'm the Celtics, I'm not afraid of the Hawks or Magic. And you're thinking, well, at that point, you're either facing the Pacers, Bucks, or Cavs in the conference finals, and that's where their finals road is.
Exactly. And it's officially playoff time, and it is officially time to be excited, and it is officially time for the Celtics Talk Weekly crew to start pumping out content in this week of waiting that we have for the Boston Celtics. So, guys, I just want to let you know, all week we are going to be dropping playoff content, predictions, report cards, everything. We're going to have you covered on all aspects of the NBA, not just the Celtics this week. We're going to be covering all aspects of the NBA and the playoffs. We'll have you fully covered. So, again, if you're not already, subscribe and turn on the post notifications, especially this week, because we're going to be dropping a lot of stuff and a lot of good stuff regards to the NBA playoffs. It's the most exciting time. Celtics are rolling. They're looking to make a title defense. So again, we do highly recommend it. It'd be appreciated too. If you guys tune in this week, it's going to be a lot of fun stuff. And guys, the next time we're going to see each other, well, not us on screen, but us and the viewers, the next time we're going to see each other, guys, is game 1 after the final buzzer of the Boston Celtics first round matchup against either the Atlanta Hawks or the Orlando Magic. Again, I'm going to be a broken record, guys. We are going to have you covered all week long with some awesome content. We're so excited for the playoffs to get going. I'm antsy. I'm ready. Guys, until next time, cue the rock music. We're gonna have to cook something up for the playoffs.
It's gonna be done by Tuesday.
So we gotta I like the rock music, but it was the playoffs, man. We need something a little bit more special. So cue that up.
The copyright.
I do like it though. I trash it and then I turn it on and I'm like, It's kind of not bad.
This is so funny. These moments, like for some reason, it doesn't pop up on my end, and I'm like, I can't even hear it. And like everybody's popping. I'm like, wait.
You hear it?
I have to turn on the other device. Also, I won't go on a tangent about the Kings this time. I promise.
All right, guys. Until next time, we will see you. As always, Celtics.